welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are the Morning Throners. Cat 7 on deck. Gotta love a good cat chapter.
I do think this is an awesome chapter.
Nelson's got some tissues out too.
Yeah, I want to get into what Kyle thinks about this, but before we do, there was something that Kyle forgot what we were talking about at the end of the last chapter and told us to remind him, and I have it written down at the top of my notes.
No, I forgot to ask Kyle.
Gotcha. Somebody forgot something.
And I thought I was going to have more than a day to figure this out.
Ask Kyle how Tyrion will hurt Cersei, because he's like, I'm going to hurt you. Like,
He's going to expose this. He's going to expose Jaime and her. That's like the ultimate just fucking bomb that he can drop on everything, right? That is the nuke.
Hasn't Stannis kind of already done that?
No. This is fucking Tyrion.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
I mean, it's
He's a lot
rumored
more
that they
coming
don't
from
like
the
each
family.
other. Is it when they don't even like each other?
Yeah, I guess
I think he could
though.
point to all the reasons that it's not Robert's and, like, you know,
I like it. I'm not gonna make it.
That's like
I'm not gonna make you go any more into that.
Yeah, I
his
like it.
job is to convince people of things. Like 100% of the time, that's what he's doing, right?
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm with it. Good prediction.
I thought I was gonna have like another week to answer that too.
Yeah, we're recording back to back right now. Not that these are coming out back to back, but
No, this one was good, and it was like, now I really got to read this Theon chapter, and I was kind of hoping we didn't skip the night after I read it here.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have
Because I
to
didn't
wait.
want to read the next one and know going into this one, you know, the end of this recording.
you can read Theon, but you're gonna have to reread it again because we're gonna take a week off.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're not recording.
It's gonna
next
be
week.
a bit of time. Yeah.
It's all right.
So yeah, you can. I mean, you can read tonight if you want before
Just gotta
bedtime.
Re-skim next time. Refresh it. But yeah, anytime after we record is good. It's fair game. That's what I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was. This was probably like the most tense one in a while, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the meeting at the end is it all, right? Like, I bet Nelson probably wants to read it.
The whole thing.
We're not going to, but
I was gonna text you guys like jokingly before, like, but I didn't want to even like spoil for Kyle that I thought the chapter was like really good or whatever. But I was gonna be like, is it too much to do like 12 pages of quotes or whatever? I don't know how long it actually is. Different pages for me, but
yeah. So we got a decent amount. So let's jump in.
But yeah, I think besides that, I think like the chapter is like it
I think the
fucking
rest
hits
is
you hard.
pretty-
Like Kat is like in such a horrible spot
Yeah.
here. Just lost her children. Her other children are being held by like her worst enemy. There's a part where she's talking to her dad.
One's at
who's-
war.
Yeah, one's at war. Her dad is literally
At least
like, on
he's
his
winning at
deathbed.
war. Yeah.
Like just everything is coming up. Not Kat. Like this chapter, and it's just like pretty fucking
Yeah.
depressing.
I think even pile it on more. She's in like deep mourning, and everybody else is celebrating around her.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's a party outside.
That's like your team winning the Super Bowl, but you tore both ACLs and you can't play anymore.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Not good.
it's just like, but to a way worse level. Like she literally lost.
The
She's
thing
got
is, even there, I feel like
maybe
that person
two
would be
kids
like
left.
still happy that their team won. Kat is like shows no happiness. She doesn't give a fuck about whatever Edmure is doing that's making everybody so happy, right? She doesn't seem to really give a fuck about that at all. Like she mentions
Yeah.
it, but she's like, it's not. There's no conflict in her. She's just 100%
So-
sad.
the big thing we need to ask Kyle is like he left last chapter thinking Bran and Rickon because of coming from Varys that, and correct, say what you believed, Kyle, about the Bran and Rickon news from Varys.
I still think this is false information.
Gotcha. So you had said like yesterday or in the last chapter, like you said, I don't know if like this is something Varys is playing at or whatever. It seems a little bit trickier that it's a Varys game at this point, right? If
Yeah, well,
it is,
it's
he's getting
Robert-
news into River Run, right?
What's his name?
Roderick. Kat says she
Roderick.
got a letter from Roderick. Yeah.
So I mean, it came from a good source. So it definitely starts cracking away at my disbelief, but I still disbelieve.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to see where you're at. So we come in and Kat is with Brienne in the Great Hall. It's just them because, like I said, everybody else is off celebrating Edmure's return, which is soon. He's not back yet, but he's coming back.
Yep.
And Rob just completed his conquest of the crab. Crag?
Crag.
Crag.
It must have autocorrected the crab.
Crab
I was like,
people.
that's not right.
Yeah.
So he just conquested the crag.
Yeah, but I think in the last cat chapter we had basically heard news he was going to the crag. So
yeah, I mean it seemed like a done deal as well. Like it didn't seem like anybody was too worried about it. Just like he's gonna go here and wreck some house.
Yeah, again, he's kind of like going after the small houses. Little houses, just paying Tywin back to what he did with the woods.
So, like we said, she's mourning the death of Bran and Rickon. She thinks to herself that she's become a sour woman. Empty place where her heart once was. I think she's like drinking the wine and she's like, this is awful.
Yeah, and this is what Nelson was saying. Like she's can't even feel joy right now. Like, she's just sour.
Yeah, I take no joy in meat or mead, and song and laughter have become suspicious strangers to me. I am a creature of grief and dust and bitter longings. There is an empty place within me where my heart once was. Just she's in a bad spot.
So we find out that the word came from Serwyn.
Yes.
Who is with Roderick? Who is Serwyn, Nels?
So again, this is a second later.
Oh wait, is it Castle Serwyn? Where the fuck is Castle Serwyn?
Yeah, exactly, Castle Serwyn, which is just where House Serwyn, like that castle that House Serwyn lives in.
I thought that was a maester's name.
Yeah, so Kat's listening to Brienne chew. She's not really eating. She's just kind of like on edge. Doesn't want to just basically tells Brienne, get out of here, go party. I kind of want to be alone. And she's like, I don't really want to be alone. Or Brienne's like, I don't really want to go party. I'm not about that. Like, Kat and Brienne had this conversation already in the last cat chapter, or 2 cat chapters ago, or whatever. But then Kat kind of just finds herself telling Brienne this, right? She thinks to herself she didn't plan to tell anybody. And then again, she has like this thought, like, you stupid woman, like, not tell anybody isn't going to make it not true. Everyone's going to find out, right? Just like.
And just like, I don't know. I always felt like if you talk out stuff, it just helps you a little bit, you know.
I can see what she's saying though, where like she read this off of paper and now she's just not she's kind of just been like, it's fake, fuck this, like it's not real, and she's hoping that as long as like people aren't talking about it, then maybe it'll be off her mind or something. But clearly that's not working, and she knows it's not going to work. Vyman's going to have to tell people eventually.
So Roderick is marching on Winterfell. Rickon and Bran do they know exactly what happened?
Murdered, and then their heads put on spikes.
Heads on spikes. And Brienne tries to be like, oh, well, at least they're with the gods now. And Kat's like
the way he writes this, it's just so brutal for Kat. Like, she's like, I got a letter, and it's like clear that it's like the letter wasn't good. And Brienne's like, oh my God, was it your son's? And Kat's like, oh, why did you say that? Just shut up and let tell you what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, even the question about it like kills her, and she's like, fuck, yes, it was. Or she says, I have no sons but Rob, right? Is how she breaks that news, which is, again, is just like, fuck. I don't know. Again, this is one that's like, I feel like it fucking hit you. And Brienne doesn't understand what that is. And then, she gets into it. Yeah. The head's on spikes. Theon's a dick who ate at my table since he was a boy of 10.
Yeah. I mean, another kind of detail, like real for Kyle, if you don't remember, Bran and Rickon tried to escape but were taken out of Mill on the Acorn Water.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much exactly what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah, well,
that was where
that's what Reek was saying to.
He's like, I know where they're at. Yeah, this mill.
I feel like this is all still a big setup. By the way,
fair. We're just pointing things out.
I know. You don't have to. Please, I don't even want to see your face. But
so, like I said, Brienne says like, all right, they're with the gods. Kat's like, fuck the gods, basically. Like, why would they?
Well, she's having the same. Who else said this?
The Hound did. Well, so again, Jeff was talking about parallels before. I think there's a huge parallel between this chapter and the Sansa chapter we had like 3 chapters ago, right? Like Sansa has that conversation with the Hound. I think there's a lot of parallels between that and the Jaime conversation here. Even this beginning part, right? In the beginning part of the Sansa one, she's saying, fuck it, fuck him, let him burn the scepter. When Sansa shows up, I don't care. And right, that's kind of the same.
They didn't save my dad type thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the same thing Kat's thinking here. Like, she's one of the most religious people we know. I think I said this about Sansa before. And she's saying, like, look, like, fuck the god. Like, who's going to do this? Again, she turns back on this. She's all for the gods when she's talking to Jaime. But, like, the thoughts crossing her mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Another big kind of callback is she brings up her hands a bunch.
Yep.
Just a scar. She mentions it here. Like, did the gods stop this guy from coming and slicing my hands up? And
I haven't even seen him awake since before I even left.
Like, but when they're on this topic of her hands, she's like she tells Brienne like how she shows her the scars, and she says like, I got him this way, but Summer saved Bran. And this is where she has this thought like, how, like, I can't imagine, like, he must have killed Summer and Shaggy. Like, that's what Theon must have done. Like, there's no way they would let Bran and Rickon die.
without dying themselves.
And then that shows. Then she goes into Rob too. She even extends that to him. So that's kind of why. That's probably how she's dealing with him being so far away as well.
And just like hoping that Grey Wind's got his back.
Yeah. She's like, he's there as long as he's around, we'll be all right. You know?
Yeah, Kat was like kind of. I don't know about these wolves, but after that assassin Bran deal, I mean, she's the biggest fan of the wolves.
Like, good shit. You're the man.
Number one fan, yeah.
And that's what the next thought go to is like, my daughters who don't have either of their wolves. They're in trouble.
But Sansa's a lady.
And she's, again, I was confused by this. I thought Kat was thinking this stuff to herself, but then Brienne's like, what are you talking about? Or it says like Brienne was confused by the shifting confusion. Like, oh my God, Kat's saying all this.
I think she's basically saying
she's
that.
She's just spewing. She's like emotional right now, right? Like, the wolves, Rob, what about Sansa and Arya?
Like to find any meaning in it, Sansa is super pretty, right? And she knows all her courtesies and she's going to be okay at court. Like, she has the name. She's going to get married off, right?
What are you talking? I don't know what you're talking about exactly.
Like, she's like going off about Sansa being a lady and how she's always courteous. And I think what she's trying to get at is that she's so pretty and she has the name and she's going to be a great wife with a first men name. You know what I mean? Like, Sansa shouldn't be in crazy danger because someone's going to want to marry her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're talking about like when she does, basically Kat goes through and just does this kind of like paragraph long info dump on each of Sansa and Arya. Nothing super new that for us, but Brienne knows.
She's like just complimenting. Like, Brandon Reckon just died, and she's just like, I feel like in her complimenting of Sansa being a lady, she's not really worried about her because.
I don't know about that. I feel like it's more like now that Kat has less baskets, her eggs are more densely, like, you know what I mean? There's more eggs in the Sansa basket, so she's like kind of more committed to them, maybe. Like,
sure, but I also don't think she's worried that Sansa's head's just going to end up on a spike just because.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff.
She's not the heir of Winterfell,
she's
right?
She'll be all right.
She's going to be the wife of whoever marries her.
Gotcha.
That's the person. But then she's like, and then she goes right into Arya, and she's like, well, Arya doesn't listen to shit. Like, she's testy and fighty. Like, I feel like the mood changes. Like, well, Arya's probably fucked just because of how she acts. Like, she's gonna try and fight somebody.
Yeah, she chops Arya up to dead, which is weird because like,
I don't even know if she's saying dead right now, but like, she's gonna do something. She's gonna do something to get herself killed. Yeah,
that makes sense.
But
then she gives her little like Arya list. She's like, I want them all dead. Mm-hmm. Theon first, then Jaime, Cersei, Imp, all of them.
Kill them all.
She's like, my girls will probably. I don't know, Jeff. Now that I'm reading this sentence, I don't know that I agree with your previous statement about her thinking she'll be okay. She says, my girls will, and trails off. So I think she's like extremely worried. Like, they're not going to be okay. They're going to die, and so now she's like preparing herself for even more grief.
Yeah, like, I think Jeff's right in the fact that what she's saying is, I think it's her trying to convince herself that both her daughters are like good here. Like, Sansa's strong, she's a lady, she'll be okay. And Arya, she would always talk back, but like she was rough. Like, she wouldn't let anybody like walk all over her. But then like the more she thinks about it, she's like, no, Arya's fucked. They're both fucked. Like, we're all all fucked. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think a lot of it too is Brienne doesn't know shit about. At least that we've seen on page. Brienne doesn't know shit about her family except for Kat. Exactly. So this is kind of like a info dump to Kat, to Brienne, even though we kind of
already know all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
she pretty much says like, shouldn't the queen has kids too? Catelyn is like, yeah, fuck that. They're like, she doesn't care about mine. Why should I care about hers?
Yeah.
And then she goes into ice, right? Why does she talk about ice so much here?
She says ice can kill as dead as fire. When Kat says Rob will avenge his brothers, ice can kill as dead as fire, and then goes into
and ice was the one that would chop off heads for Ned, and Rob doesn't have it. So when he chops off their head, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Which is weird because they don't have ice. Ilyn Payne still got ice walking around anyway. So she means like, I think she's using ice like metaphorically as like Rob will be beheading people in the name of the North, or
she mentions that she would enjoy passing the sentence of Theon.
Mm-hmm. This is like cool. It's cool that Brienne's getting some of this like Ned Stark wisdom through Kat. Like Kat's dumping this on Ned, right? Or vice versa. Kat's dumping this on Brienne. Yeah. Not dumping, but like,
I know
she's getting exposed to all this like Stark culture real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Then she drops a bomb here. She's wine. Send
Hold
him
on.
wine.
Real quick before we do that, in that line, the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword, but Cat says Ned never took any joy in it.
Yeah.
I think this is again a callback to that Sansa chapter.
John.
Sansa says that.
Sansa or John chapter?
Sansa says this to the Hound, like don't tell me your father never killed anybody. He had to. He never took any joy in it. And then the Hound laughs. He's like, every man takes joy in it. It's the sweetest thing there is. And here, Cat is saying Ned didn't take any joy in it. Maybe she's wrong. Yeah. We don't know, right? We don't know. Ned
I mean, from what we saw,
you think maybe he'd come back and be a little bit like beaten up about it.
He goes back and cleans his sword under the heart tree for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like she says he was only solemn after taking a man's life. It's in.
I was going to say 100% of the kills
we
saw, he was not pumped about.
Yeah, so it makes sense based on Cat. We would think if anybody knows Ned's head, it would be Cat, right? So, yeah. Just wanted to call that because I think there are a few parallels between those two chapters here.
Yeah. So the big next thing is that she sent Jaime wine.
Yeah, so she kind of tells Brienne
she's going to meet him at midnight.
Yeah, I got this plan. Come meet me at midnight. We're going to do Cleo's Fray round 2. Get him drunk. Get some information out of him.
How do they know when it's midnight?
The moon is
the moon at the highest point of the sky? I don't think that's true.
I don't know. How do you keep time in medieval days?
I mean, noon's easy because the sun is
once the sun's
at its highest point.
Hours.
But does the moon travel on the same? Exactly. I guess there's a high point of the moon.
I don't have an answer for this one.
Maybe it's not the middle of the.
So. There's some nights where the moon's not up at all. No.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Depends on our angle. I think it's always up.
And the moon is up at like there's sometimes
the moon is still up for a new moon. It's just blotted out by shadows.
What I'm saying is you can see the moon during the daytime sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's not like the moon comes out at night and then the sun's out during the day. Like the sun's out during the day, that's what makes it day. But the moon's
the question is,
the moon's out.
The question is the moon? Is it midnight when the moon's at its highest tip? And I don't know that. I don't
think that's right.
No way. It can't be.
I mean, it can be because it still orbits us.
That would mean
it's
not
that
like
the moon's on the opposite side of the sun, though.
That's what I was gonna say. That would mean that the moon and the sun.
Well, that's why you get
same,
shadows. Yeah. That's why you get shadows of like a crescent moon and whatnot.
It's not like that. Yeah.
But it still orbits us, and at some point has a high point in our day. I just don't know if that day is midnight.
Than the sun.
Right. That's why I asked the question. I was like, how the fuck do they know how do they know it's midnight? Like they came knocking on the door like it's midnight. I think they made it up. They're like, all right.
If we spent like a week thinking about this, we could come up with a way to figure out. Maybe we'd come up with a decent way to keep track of time in the nighttime hours. If we could, they could.
Probably stars or something.
We just have to go outside and watch the moon. See how it.
I think stars would be better than the moon.
Why?
For keeping time.
I think that's stupid. I think that
they're way more fixed in the sky, just like the sun is, than the moon is. The moon goes around us.
Okay, so how are you going to tell? We rotate along the North Star, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, so any other star.
No.
Like if you find a different star.
No.
Find a star
as close as you can, we rotate around the North Star.
Yes.
All right. We're sounding real dumb because no, that's not right.
That's just kind of right. So if you pick
he's not.
He's right enough. If you pick a star directly off the equator, then in the same way that the North Star is directly off the North Pole, if you pick a star directly off the equator, you could treat that star like the sun and I guess theoretically track your hours through the nighttime. Because you're treating that star like the thing we're saying that's on the opposite side of the sun.
I think you're in way over your head here. I don't think that's how that works.
You would have to pick a different star every night. But it would work.
I don't know if this is real. Answer: Polaris, the North Star, appears stationary in the sky because it's positioned close to the line of Earth's axis. Yes. So I don't know what Kyle was saying, but
that's why it's the North Star. We picked the star that's closestly directly above the North Pole, which is the axis.
Yeah. So all right, moving on. If anyone knows, tell us. I'm sure we could ask Tom. But all right, so she goes up to her dad's solar. There's nothing really here. She confides in her dad that she has no one. Right, like everyone's gone. He's there but dying, knows he's going to die soon. She had a dream about when her and Lysa were kids getting lost at Seaguard. Littlefinger saved them.
Which was kind of strange because later on she's like pissed at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean for good reason. But
yeah.
And then the last real point I have before midnight comes is that she says to him that she wants the fighting to stop and she wants her boys back and she wants Rob to just marry a Frey girl and go up north and have kids. She just basically wants everything to stop right now.
And normalcy,
go back to the north. Yeah.
She says the stark words, winter coming, winter has come for her.
Mm-hmm.
There again, there's like this whole, just like the thematic of Cat being depressed in this chapter, during this section, I think is about like when she first sits down, she holds her dad's hand. She thinks like it, again, like doesn't matter how hard I hold it. he's gonna die. like I'm fucked here.
Everything is slipping away from me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then again one midnight, she hears Ryman the Rhymer sing a verse of this song. Anything about this, Kyle? Does this sound familiar at all?
Is this the one about? Oh no, what was his name? Bale or whatever.
Bale the Bard. That's the wilding one.
I don't remember this one. Should I remember this?
Yeah, so again, I don't know if you should remember, but Tyrion has heard two verses. In Tyrion chapters, we've heard two verses of this song, or like two lines of this song. I've loved a maid as white as winter with moon glow in her hair, and I loved a maid as fair as summer with sunlight in her hair, or something like that. So this is like the autumn verse.
Okay,
that's kind of the only thing. And the other two times we heard it was Tyrion. I think one of the times Lancel was singing it to Cersei when Tyrion like walked in on him, like earlier in this book. And I think another one was Tyrion talking to Bronn about like the first whore that he married. She used to sing this song, which is why it comes up every time he hears it. He thinks about it. But yeah, so we're getting like another verse from that.
All right, so midnight comes and Brienne gets her. She goes down to the cells and the Goaler tries to stop her, and she's basically like, "Get the fuck out of my way."
I think that's Jailer. And
then Brienne stands guard. No, it's Goaler for sure.
I guess Goaler.
No, I think it's Jailer.
I think
Why wouldn't
he
it
is
be
a
spelled
jailer,
Jailer?
but I in my head read it Goaler too.
Why wouldn't it just be spelled Jailer?
I was assuming it was like a play on like soccer goalie, like they call him the goaler, right? And he's like defending the goal, and this guy's defending the jail.
I'm pretty sure it's like Old English.
That's probably more accurate.
Jail.
My stupid brain is probably just dumb.
Jailer? But she goes in to see Jaime.
Well, I kind of like how she handles this conversation, right? So
Yeah.
she's probably not allowed to do what she's doing here. This guy literally says, Edmure says, no one's allowed to come in without a written
Oh yeah,
notice.
she definitely talks her way in. Status is her way in for sure.
She's as high ranking as you can get, really, without being Edmure. But yeah,
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
Is pretty much who
Well,
she gives.
I mean, the big thing is like he calls him Lord Edmure, and he's not even a lord yet. Like,
and that's what pisses Cat off. Exactly. Like, is my father dead? Do we want to go talk to my father and you have him let me in? And like, what if that guy calls her on this?
Yeah.
Fucking Hoster's passed out. Like, dude can't even
right?
talk.
But
He's not gonna
at this
ever
point
call
he
her
wouldn't dare call her
I
out.
know.
Especially after he like
Well, he's like
sees that she was insulted, right?
when he was drunk and just like sleeping over a barrel or something, right? Like
It just reminds me. Didn't I show you guys that clip? Which comedian is it in the Good Will Hunting where he's like, "Hey, do you like apples?" He's like, "You know why he says yes?" It's like because Matt Damon wrote the movie. It's like nobody would say yes to that. You say no, and Matt Damon is fucked. He looks like an idiot in front of all his friends. Like there's a comedian who has like a line about that. He's like, the only reason that guy say yes is because Matt Damon wrote the fucking movie. Of course, he's gonna say yes. It makes Matt Damon look like a badass. But,
Yeah,
that's
I
kinda
remember.
this.
I think you watched that with me.
Why did this guy say no? Because George needed him to say no, so he made him say no. I'm not gonna go check on Hoster, but he should just go check on Hoster. Who's everyone in this fucking castle has to know Hoster can't even fucking like stand up.
Nah, I mean,
You know what I
maybe they haven't really seen him, but yeah.
You're saying he's not gonna call because he respects Cat, not because he.
No, I think
knows it's
because
bullshit.
I would say he probably respects Hoster more, and like, oh fuck, you're right, he's not dead. Like,
But you think he knows it's bullshit?
nah, I don't really think he's thinking. He's drunk. He's not even thinking about anything.
I think he's just scared, doesn't want to get in trouble. And
Yeah.
he says,
I'm drunk and I know it's bullshit.
You're not drunk. So she gets in. Jaime didn't touch the wine, and I guess because he thinks it's poison. Like if he knew,
for sure.
Brienne's outside the whole time. She's
Brienne,
guarding the
yeah,
door.
it's just that too.
Which is weird because it's got to be like a double. She's not chilling with a goaler, right? Like
Jailer.
a jailer. She's like
Goaler.
inside like a whatever. It doesn't matter. I assume she's at a different door than where that guy was at.
Yeah, there's
like
a
secondary.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's like a cell block and then a cell.
Yeah, and his cell probably doesn't have a lock on it because he's chained to the wall, so you don't need that as long as the whole cell block's locked. I don't know. Again, logistics don't matter. Moving on. She gets into the cell. Jaime's there in a ball in the corner, shit bucket in the other corner. Like Jeff said, wine untouched.
Yep. He talks about how she didn't drink because it was poison. She was like, if I wanted you dead, I would just come in here and kill you.
So I don't know how many of our other fans listen to the podcast without like recently reading the books. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're just like listening through all of them because we give a pretty good recap. This isn't one where you should go read this one. Like this dialogue is so good. Like George is a dialogue god, and I just love this. Basically, from here till the end of the chapter is gold.
Yeah. It's
I
good.
love it.
Jaime's got a new look going on right now.
Not on purpose, but yes.
I've given him a razor. He's shaggy. His hair's long. Looks like Tom Hanks in Castaway,
Yeah,
Will
probably.
Forte in Last Man on Earth, Tandy, you know.
Yeah.
He hasn't been allowed a razor since the Whispering Wood.
He's
Oh yeah, why would you give him a weapon, right?
yeah, the littlest of things.
7.5 months ago.
Wow.
So how big is a beard after that long? I mean, I guess it depends on the guy. Kyle's beard would be pretty big. My beard would be nothing.
Yeah, our beers would be very lame looking.
It pisses me off that Kyle can grow a badass beard and he's fucking clean shaven.
And he
all the
shaves
time.
it.
Yeah, like God gave you a gift, sir.
That'll look good, man.
Yeah, you look pretty good with the beard, I think.
Jamie's locked up pretty tight. He's shackles on his
Arms and legs.
feet. Yep, and it's like awkward. He can't even like straighten out to lay down.
They say he can't lay comfortably, but like it's not like all his hands and legs are like connected by one chain. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
not
they
like
are.
that, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's bent like a one link of chain, right? It's not like one
so no,
single.
his ankles are connected, his arms are connected, and then those chains are chained together as well. So they're like probably down by his waist or whatever.
By his
like,
waist,
and
okay.
he's just constantly stuck in this awful position.
Like in like a C position.
When she first read it, for some reason, I got the picture like they were all chained together. Like there was one link connecting all the manacles between all. But then like it doesn't make sense how he can like sit against the wall.
Yeah,
Okay, and like drink wine. Drinking wine, your feet would be above your head.
drinking wine by himself. Yeah, like, fully on his own.
Yeah, exactly.
So pretty much
So-
he's like, "Are you here to bang?" Is like he's taunting her, right? Is how it starts.
Yeah. Is your bed cold? I guess I can
Yeah.
fill in.
Sorry, we killed your husband. You're here to bang.
He also gives a reason why he didn't drink the wine.
Well, yeah, we talked about that. He said, "You've been treating me like shit so far. Why would I trust this sudden generous gift?" Right?
But she's like, well, if we wanted to kill you, we could just cut your head off. And he's like, yeah, but if you poison me, maybe you could play it off as like,
A
oh, he
natural
just
Yeah, like we did
didn't
to John
eat or something
Aaron,
like that. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. Yep. So
He also starts mentioning that she looks awful.
yeah, he calls her ugly. He
Well,
also
she probably does look awful, right?
Not ugly, but like she looks.
yeah.
She looks
Yeah.
terrible.
You're right. Like again, because
we
she's going through a lot.
We spent
Yeah.
the last hour
Yeah.
talking about how awful she felt.
Yeah, and
Going through a lot.
I mean he can't look great either, but he also put himself in this position because Tyrion tried to break him out, right? So he was in like a decent cell, and now he's in the dark
Yep.
cells, and it's his fault. But he also was like, maybe one day he was like, oh, there's worse at Castle Rock. Maybe one day I'll put you in one.
There's places in Castle Rock to make this look like a sunlit garden. Maybe one day I'll show them to you. Yeah, which again, he's just like in like the least, like if there's any position to not be trying to threaten somebody, it's where Jamie's at right now. He's just going at it. You think the roles are reversed by like the way he talks to her here?
He really didn't change at all.
And she keeps talking about how attractive a man he is too, like the whole way through. So like she still has like this weird respect for him as well. That's probably George being a bad writer.
What do you mean? Why?
Like, oh, he's such a beautiful man. Like this woman can't overcome her feelings for this man.
No, I don't think it's that. I think what it is like George has talked about like how he loves Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff, but the one thing he really doesn't like in fantasy is like it's the good guys versus the bad guys, right? Like orcs who have absolutely no good in them versus Aragorn and everybody who's absolutely never done anything bad.
Okay.
Right. So here he makes like the Night's Watch and like the Kingsguard. Most of the Kingsguard we've seen are shitheads. They're wearing white. In the Night's Watch, a lot of them are pretty honorable guys like Corrin and all these guys. They're wearing black. Right. That's kind of like flipping the trope on their head. Not that all Kingsguard are bad and all Night's Watch are good, but like kind of stuff like that. So I think here, what the whole point of this is like she says like no man was ever as beautiful or as vile. So I think what George is saying here is like, yes, this guy looks like a beautiful package on the outside, but that doesn't mean shit. Kind of like how when the first John, it reminds me of the first John chapter when Robert comes in and he's like, this fucking fat king, like I'm so embarrassed by this, like this is not what I expected from hearing Ned's story.
Yeah, he's supposed to be this great dude.
And then Jamie walks by and he's like, this is what a king should be.
Yeah.
Right. But everything so again, beautiful, even John, I think it's like that's why Kat's saying the same thing John's saying there. Like this is what a fucking knight looks like. And she's saying, how do you like physically represent like what should be great?
Well, they had that
just like shit
conversation
to
here
your
too,
core.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's a physical attraction on Kat's part there. I think it's kind of doing more of what I was explaining.
So next he even tries to shoot this shot again. Chronologically, he mentions that he could service her bed. We talked about that already.
He's coming at Rob here. He's like...
And this is what I was saying. Like he shoots a shot knowing that if he had a sword and he had a shot at single combat, he could win.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought you were saying shoot your shot as in trying to fight.
Yeah,
I know, that's why I said what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I'm because he's done this already with
Rob.
Rob, right? He shot a shot like, let's just fight me and you, and we'll solve this thing the old way. Like, you only do that if you know you're gonna win. Like, I'd go to Nelson and be like, hey, like,
or Tyrion.
Well, and Kat, I don't know if she says it right here, but at one point she says, you weren't, like, when you had an army behind you weren't calling for single combat. Like, you weren't so confident.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, why would you? You had an army.
When you had a better option.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like something I know I can beat you in. All right, well, shit, I just lost the big battle, but hey, I can save this. I know I'm better than you at this.
It's kind of like the Tyrion trope or Tyrion thing too, where he's saying like, either I'm going to rot in this cell and you're going to kill me eventually, or it's going to be awful, or I can have a chance to get out, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
and probably a better than
odds,
50-50 chance. It's probably a 70-30, 80-20.
Yeah. Well, he's a tournament trained knight, right?
Right.
100%. Yeah. I mean, he's
one of the best
in the best.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
By title, the best, right? Lord Commander of the King's Guard. So that's like the highest of the high. Like, so he should theoretically be the best. Whether that's, we know his title was kind of given to him as they elbowed Barristan out the door. So, but I think to your point, Jeff, like you're saying, you can't just come in. Who we still haven't seen. You can't just come in. You can't just come in and be like, oh, well, let's do this thing I'm good at, right? Like that wouldn't work if I was just like, oh, let's just play Sea of Thieves, right?
I'd kill you in that though, for sure.
But in this world, like fighting, like is the thing. So like it's not quite like, oh, let's just do this thing I'm good at. It's like, let's do the thing that we decide everything by. Like, let's do trial by combat.
That's not true because they play games. We know they play games later on. So that's not true.
I know what you're saying. A lot of big decisions come to combat. So
in terms of like letting me out of jail or like who's going to win the war, like combat is the one thing that like Tyrion got out of jail this way.
From what we've seen, I'm sure someone's gambled in another way before. Like, I'll play in fucking dice
But putting your own life on the line is raises the stakes with the to get out of jail.
Sure. No, I'm not going to argue that for sure. I'm just saying it's probably not the only way people have.
I'm just saying it's kind of a fucked up thing that like in this world, if you're strong and can fight well, you can kind of do whatever you want and get out of.
Well, that goes back to the whole riddle. Is like, is the sword?
Yeah, who wins this rich man, strong man, religious man, or whatever, right? Yeah.
So. All right, but Kat's like, I need some info from you before you die.
Quid Pro Quo. Oh my God, Jeff, say it.
Quid Pro Quo.
Yeah, from Silence of the Lambs. This is a Clarice Hannibal Lecter. Maybe that's why I love this because I love Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite movies, and this is like Quid Quo. That's what exactly.
You can't even
Jamie
say
Poole
it,
is a Hannibal. I can't say it right now. I'm too drunk. Quid Pro. Say it.
Dude.
Quid Pro Quo. Quid Pro Quo.
Oh
I know what the word is.
If you cut this out, I'm going to be pissed.
Quid Pro Quo.
There you go.
The thing is, I'm trying to do the Anthony You got to do the Anthony Hopkins accent. Quid Pro Quo.
Dude,
it's literally a tongue twister saying.
It's literally not.
I can't say it. Clarice and say it like Anthony Hopkins. I'll put the clip in the YouTube and I'll put it in the audio too. Okay, I'll figure out how to do that.
Oh God.
If I help you, Clarice, it will be turns with us too. Quid pro quo. I tell you things, you tell me things. Not about this case, though. About yourself. Quid pro quo. Yes or no?
Anyway, right? So she finally gets him to agree to start answering some questions, right? But only if she answers some for him.
Yep.
Quid pro quo.
That's exactly what that word means.
Yes, I know. I know what that means. But then he says, "I'll take the wine."
Yeah. Or
he says it before. Either way.
Yeah, he starts drinking.
He's like, all right, if we're going to play this game, let's have some fun with it. That's kind of what Jamie's saying.
There's talk of some gods here, too, right?
It's like he doesn't take anything seriously. Yeah, it's kind of where they start.
He's so
right?
arrogant. Oh, I see here. You should. Your crimes will have earned you a place of torment in the deepest of the seven hells, if the gods are good. What gods are those, Lady Catelyn? The trees your husband prayed to? How would they serve him when my sister took his head off? If there are gods, why is the world so full of pain and injustice? So it kind of gets back into what she was just thinking.
I was going to say she just said the same thing.
And it's what Sansa was thinking too. Like Sansa was like, fuck the gods. And then when the Hound tried to say fuck the gods, she was like, nope, I believe in God. So
this is literally what the Hound said, though. Like, not word for word, but he literally said to Sansa, like, oh, how did the tree gods help your dad when he got his head naked off at the steps of Baelor Sept? You know what I mean? And that's what she's thinking of. Like, or that's what Jamie says.
Yeah.
What gods are those? And he's like, what Sandor then says is, why do they make imps? Why do they make half-wits like Lolly Stokeworth, right? And Jamie doesn't say that, but he literally follows it up with, why is it so full of pain and injustice? Which is probably what he's referencing.
Yeah.
Kat, thinking of something slightly different, but not too far off. She's going down the cripple route. Why are we full of cripples? That's because of you, Jamie, because you're pushing kids out windows.
Right. So
and he's like, yeah, because of men like you. I think this is a cool, badass line. Kat says, the world's full of injustice because of men like you. And then you said it already, Jeff. There are no men like me.
Mm-hmm.
There's only me.
Only me.
So then she's about to leave. She's about to pull the plug on this, and he's like, wait, we can talk, but I have a price. She's like, fuck you and your price. Like, you don't get to say anything. And all he wants is, like, info, too. He just wants the truth of what's going on out there.
It's so weird. It's like he's like bipolar. He's like, there's like a sentence that's kind of nice. Like, things go to rust in the dark and the wet, even courtesies. Like, it's like actually like a kind of a one nice sentence, and then as soon as he has her like not with her hand on the doorknob, he's back to being a dickhead. You know what I mean? It's like he just wants to. He's probably just so bored. He just wants to keep playing with her.
Yeah, he's definitely messing with her.
Well, I mean, at that point, he's probably like, all right, she's in. Like,
yeah, I think he's probably just bored.
So she asks first. They're basically just gonna go back and forth, right? So she asks, "Is Joffrey really yours?" He says yes. He doesn't even deny it, or I guess he kind of like smiles.
No, he's 100%. Yeah, no denial.
He says, she says, I want to hear it from you. He says, Joffrey's mine as the rest of Cersei's brood.
Yeah,
I think even saying like you wouldn't ask that question unless you knew the answer.
That's basically yes. It's just not it wouldn't go in court, right?
Yeah. The one thing I want to say that we skipped over was Jamie has a quick line that from Tyrion. She's like, "I want the truth now." Like when we're having this conversation, and
you can't handle the truth.
What he says. Don't make me go down that. But Tyrion has a line. What's Tyrion's line about the truth?
People often claim to hunger for the truth, but seldom like the taste when it's served up.
Which is fucking true, right? It's kind of what happens at the very end of this chapter.
Yeah, you want the truth, but you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, like the death of Kat's fiance, right? You can say betrothed. That's kind of exactly what happens at the end. So
Jamie asks if his family is still all alive. She talks about some fucking deadbeat uncle, and he's like, fuck them. Like, tell me about Cersei, Tyrion, and my dad.
Yep.
And they're all good.
But not if the gods are good.
She didn't say that out loud.
That's what she thinks, yeah.
So then next she asks, how did Bran fall?
Tells her the truth
right away. To that.
Flung him. I did it.
Not even worried at all. Like, doesn't care.
Yeah, and Kat thinks, like, he won't be so quick to answer this one, and he is.
He's even quicker. He's like, yeah, I fucking pushed him. Like,
yeah, flung him out a window.
He saw me and Cersei doing the deed. He's gone.
The ease in the way he said it took her voice away for an instant. If I had a knife, I would kill him now, she thought, until she remembered the girls. Her throat constricted as she said, "You were a knight sworn to defend the weak and innocent." Ezra's like, Bran. That's not Bran. But again, I feel like that now goes back to the last Tyrion chapter.
Yeah.
Like last chapter where they're like, what if Kat kills Jamie? Which again kind of
it's close.
Sets up the end of this chapter, right? So
right. So she kind of cheats here. She asks a couple questions. She asks if he hired the assassin then. And he's like, no, I didn't. And she's like, well, then your sister did. And he's like, nah, Cersei doesn't do that either. And Tyrion's definitely innocent.
But real quick before that, there's another good one when he's like, it's Bran's fault. Like, he was spying on us. And she's like, he wasn't spying. He was just climbing. And he's like, well, then blame the gods who brought him to our window. She's like, the gods? He's like, you threw him from the window. You wanted him to die. And he's like, well, yeah, I seldom fling children from towers to improve their health. Yes, I meant for him to die. It's like, it's just such a dickhead. I kind of love it.
Yeah, he's not pulling any punches on these.
To Jeff's point, like when I was reading this chapter the other day, I was a little drunk. It was after we had recorded the last one, and I was like getting like a little teary-eyed when I was like early on Cats with Hoster. I'm like, damn, everything is just not Cat. And then I'm literally laughing out loud when Jamie's making fun of her to her face about the exact same shit 10 minutes later. Like, I don't know how that happens.
You're just I love this chapter, healthy in the mind.
I'm just too big of a Game of Thrones fan, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So right before we get into the actual dagger, he's like, I swear I didn't do it. Like, on my honor as a Lannister. And she's like, fuck your honor as a Lannister. That doesn't matter to me. Because it does come up later on.
Yeah.
And again, when he talks about like what, his worst crime, I guess. But
it's just weird because like he clearly doesn't give a shit about like the classical honor of like not throwing kids out windows, but like he has like an internal like code. Like, I would never send a man to do another man to do my killing. Right? He's like, I don't give a fuck if you believe me or not, but like take that to the bank. Like I'm not gonna. That's not me.
So yeah, she ends up going on about the dagger, right? She brings up Cersei, and he's like, Cersei wouldn't do it.
Yeah, when he basically says like, "I would have killed your son myself," like that's a hard thing to say to someone, and she's like, "Yep, he's not lying." Like
and Cersei keeps no secrets from me, so like she didn't ask him to do it or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, last person it's got to be Tyrion then.
Tyrion, right? I even took him hostage a while ago. It better be Tyrion, right?
I was right. Thank God. Yes, exactly.
Nope.
And he's like, I don't think so. And he's like, well, it had to, like the dagger. It had to be him. Like he owned the assassin's dagger. Jamie's like, what fucking?
And he's
dagger
like, what dagger?
Somebody lost a dagger somewhere along the way, and
so what she knows. So again, let's talk about this because Kyle, like,
your brother won it from Lord Baelish as the tourney on Prince Joffrey's name day.
Yeah, which is what Littlefinger told Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, then wouldn't that make sense then? No, because he lost.
Because he lost.
You're right.
Again, like this is where like there's still like people will still talk about like the dagger stuff. So I'll say that Littlefinger when he tells Cat about this, he says Tyrion bet on Loras. Right. There's already been another chapter where we hear that
Tyrion admits to saying he always bets on Jaime.
On his brother, right?
He would never bet against him. Yeah.
I remember in the spoiler section I mentioned something to Jeff about like it would have been really tricky for Kyle to pick up on this, but because Tyrion doesn't mention the dagger, I think when he mentions only betting on Jaime.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to put together that Littlefinger was like kind of I guess lying back then. Right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if he was like, man, I lost the dagger like the one time he lost, then it'd be like two in your face.
And again, I feel like most people probably don't put this together here because like if you're reading the book like through the chapters, you're not thinking about too much stuff. But this is kind of the point where I feel like Cat is realizing, fuck, Littlefinger.
Well, I definitely put it together here. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like that, I was like, wait, she's kind of fumbling all her stuff here. So
yeah, and it lines up with Tyrion.
Isn't lining up with her new reality. Yeah.
What she believes, but Tyrion's story matches up perfectly. And when's the last time Tyrion seen Jaime? You know, like that wouldn't have been a message that got to him in the breakout. It was like, hey, deny this dagger was mine.
Yeah, she realizes their stories are matching up because she talked to Tyrion about this on the way to the Vale, and he was basically like, "No, I didn't. Why would I never bet against? Like, I wouldn't. Maybe he did say I don't bet against Jaime right to Cat about the dagger. I thought it was an unrelated topic, but he might have just said it then.
Yeah.
And then here, basically, Jaime confirms it. Yeah.
So Jaime moves on and asks
Well, hang on. This is where she kind of has that moment of well, fuck Peter. And like I said earlier, when you were talking about him saving her in the fog, like here she is, kind of the opposite. Immediately next day after having this like realization that he's maybe a slimy dick, you know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing there too is Jaime says, "Oh, I do remember that dagger."
Yeah.
And it wasn't Tyrion who had it.
Robert showed it to me.
Robert had it. So like,
yeah, he loved to make fun of me. So Tyrion lost the dagger, it sounds like.
Tyrion or Littlefinger, right? The original thing was Littlefinger used to own it, and then Tyrion won it from him.
Okay,
So
it was Littlefinger's dagger. Okay.
I don't think it really matters where it came from.
We don't know where it got passed to.
It's like hot potato. You don't look at the last person who owned this dagger. It looks pretty damning.
Yeah.
But it looks like the last person we know is Robert, right? But
so
it doesn't make any sense. Why would Robert want to kill
his best friend's son?
Yeah.
So she even asks, like, are you trying to deceive me? And she's like, something's wrong here. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, everything I just believed is getting thrown out the window. And he's like, look, I literally just, back to what you said, Nels. I just admitted to tossing your kid out the fucking window. Like, why would I lie about this thing? Like,
yeah, exactly. This is nothing compared to that. The other thing, I think it just kind of Robert funny. I'm just imagining that Robert basically takes the place of Tyrion in the Littlefinger story. Like, Robert won the bet. Betting against Jaime. So the reason why he's showing Jaime this after the tournament is like, look what I won when you got your ass beat. Yeah. He's like, he liked to tournament when he was drunk. Exactly. It's like Robert just trolling Jaime about getting shit out of the tournament.
Yeah.
So Jaime wants to know if Stannis and Renly took up arms, and she kind of answers shortly. He wants more info, and she's like, all right, Renly's dead. Stannis is marching. The Tyrells have not chosen a side after being on Renly's side.
She tells him about this magic. She's told nobody else that we know of, really, right?
like glosses over. I don't know if she doesn't say like, oh, it was crazy.
I know, but so through some black art, I do not understand.
Yeah, but he doesn't know she was there, right? So
Okay.
I get what you're saying. If he knew she was in the tent,
It's still kind of a rumor. It's like a rumor and a rumor.
I know, but it's still kind of weird that this is the first person that we've seen her talk to about it.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree. It's like the only explanation that she has for it, though. Like,
wasn't the last cat chapter like her like, no, I'm gonna keep it inside. No, I'm not gonna tell anybody about this. No, this is my this is not the time.
But I guess it's the accepted rumor though, or it's Brienne, and she's not gonna throw Brienne under the bus.
Well, I think when Cat first got back to Riverrun, Edmure asked about it, and she's like, "Well, I'll tell you later." But then, like, we never hear him tell her later. But I assume that like there was some conversation off screen where she was like, "I don't know what the fuck happened. You're not gonna believe me. It was some weird shit."
All right,
but I don't know.
All right, so
he's like, I liked Renly, but Stannis, he's kind of a hard ass. What about the Tyrells? Why is he so concerned with the Tyrells?
Big money, big family.
I think it shows he's got a pretty good military mind. They are a big army, right? So he's a general. His next thought is, let's go to war talk. Like, I mean, that's where his first thought goes to. Are they in the field? Where are the Tyrells? Who are they backing?
Yeah. Who else is fighting right now?
And he's like, well, fuck, now Rob's got to be feeling the heat, huh? Like,
it's weird. He says, is Rob lonely? Like, I don't get that. Like, that's the way he
like he doesn't have these big friends, is what he's saying.
Because he was like, that. I guess that's
he
true.
He said, what side of the Tyrells take him? Renly at first, but now I don't know. And he's like, well, probably not Rob's. He's probably feeling lonely.
Gotcha. I thought it was like, what, because nobody's fighting him, they're all occupied with each other. I was like, that's kind of a good thing for Rob.
Maybe part of that too.
But I mean, that's not a bad thing. And I think you're right. He's mocking here. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is right. He's losing potential friends.
Rob turned 16. We missed that.
He's a man grown and a king as well.
Yeah. He's won every battle.
He's like, he hasn't faced Tywin yet, has he?
No.
That's Jamie's answer to that.
Yeah, no, he's going for her here the whole time for sure.
Yeah.
And he says, she says, when he does, he'll defeat him just like he did to you.
Yep.
He makes a lame ass excuse.
Then Jamie goes into his I got excuses. He tricked me.
Yeah. He's like, just like Tyrion tried to trick us with the whole Jamie escape plan that didn't work, which is why you're back down here.
And people want you dead more than ever too.
Yeah. And Kat's like, well, wouldn't you want your sons to do that? Like,
no,
even though
Jamie says that to Kat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. She's like, what if one of your sons was captured? Like, wouldn't the other one do like resort to trickery? What's a brother's life when honor is at stake? Huh? That's the way he says it. So he's basically like, it's some things you're willing to risk your honor for, which again kind of goes back to him pushing.
Yeah.
Tyrion tried to save Jamie for love. When Jamie pushes Bran out the window, he says, the things I do for love and
saving Cersei.
Fuck my honor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's giving up his honor to try and save Cersei's honor.
Kind of, yeah.
And this is separating him from Ned, essentially, is what I think the point you're trying to make. Like, he has points where he'll break his honor.
Yeah.
Whereas Ned was 100% honor.
Yeah.
100% all the time. Everything was that. Whereas this is Jamie's nuance.
I'm not even saying just Ned.
I'm not saying they're the same person. I understand.
I'm saying not even just Jamie, though. Like, Tyrion does this, right? Tyrion basically does the same thing. The things I do for love. I'll forbid my honor and do this trickery to try and save my brother.
Yeah, maybe the Lannisters from the Starks. Maybe that's a better way.
Aemon tells Jon, love is the death of duty, right? Aemon.
I don't really think Tyrion thinks what he's doing is dishonorable. I don't really think he gives a fuck. I don't
think he gives a fuck, but it is dishonorable.
Not really. It's war. But why? That doesn't make it dishonorable. That means you were stupid enough to fall for the trick.
Maybe. I don't know.
Were we saying Aemon tells Jon what?
Aemon told, like, Jon and Aemon have this like conversation in book 1 where he says, love is the death of duty, right? When Jon is about to go desert the Night's Watch. Okay. I feel like it's just a major theme throughout the books that people do these things where they chalk up things that are supposed to be important, their honor or whatever. The thing that always makes you do it is loved ones, right? The things that makes you...
I'll take what I said back.
Why, Jeff?
Because Tyrion came in under a white flag. So
it was a peace envoy.
That makes it super dishonorable.
Yeah.
But if you trick somebody, that doesn't. If it wasn't under like a truce and you just get tricked, that doesn't make it.
So what you're saying Rob did was honorable then?
Well, I think to kind of what Jeff's saying is some people care about honor more than others. Jeff's a knight, or Jamie's a knight. It seems honor is like one of the pillars of knighthood, right? Tyrion's a fucking
they go
schemy little Tyrion. He doesn't give a fuck. Jamie cares. That's like
what is like. No one's gonna like.
Tyrion's reputation doesn't rely on his honor, where Jaime's does.
Right.
Right.
Right. Tyrion's not a lord. He's not anything. He's just the imp. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Exactly.
So they mentioned how the Karstarks definitely want him dead because they killed 2 of his sons in the Whispering Wood. It's like, well, you're lucky they died because I was coming after Robbie.
I just did what any knight would do. He's like, how? This again, we're getting back to it. Yep. How could you consider yourself a knight?
And I agree with Jaime. I kind of agree with Jaime. Like, at some point in your deal, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you got to pick one of them.
You're going to read this quote. I like this quote. The little Jaime quote. So many vows, they make you swear and swear.
So many vows, they make you swear and swear. Defend the king. Obey the king. Keep his secrets. Do his bidding. Your life for his. But obey your father. Love your sister. Protect the innocent. Defend the weak. Respect the gods. Obey the laws. It's too much. No matter what you do, you're forsaking one vow or the other.
He took a healthy swallow of wine and closed his eyes for an instant, leaning his head back against the patch of night around the wall.
I was the youngest man ever to wear the white cloak.
And the youngest to betray all it stood for, Kingslayer.
Kingslayer?
He pronounced carefully.
And such a king he was.
He lifted his cup.
To Aerys Targaryen, the second of his name, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, and protector of the realm. And to the sword that opened his throat. A golden sword, don't you know? Until his blood ran red down the blade. Those are Lannister colors, red and gold.
This makes me wonder. There's no way Jaime's sword was actually made of gold. It just doesn't, like, it's so impractical. Gold is so soft.
It'd be painted gold. Just like his armor. Like, their gold armors.
So I think even the way he says it, though, Nelson, is like a golden sword. Like, that's the rumor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is the story that's told about this. It was I was so fancy the whole time while this was happening.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I'm glad you said that,
Yeah.
So he's like, she can tell now. It's like, wow, this guy is sloshed. The wine worked. He drank.
Yeah, I guess he hasn't, and he hasn't had it in a long time.
He's probably not even eating well. Hasn't drank
for sure.
Yeah, right.
Well, she said he was skinny.
Yeah,
at the beginning, right?
Yep.
So she even like continues on, like, only a man like you would be proud of such an act, and then to kind of back him up, and to your point earlier, Nels, where like the Lannisters are made to feel the bad guys because it's like Starks versus Lannisters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jaime, you can kind of see where Jaime's going here. Like, do you even know how Ned's dad and brother died? And then we get into this story.
Like, the guy I killed wasn't a good guy is kind of his point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I actually did your family a favor.
Yeah, like this was your fiance, basically. Like, your betrothed.
Yeah, but they're doing some weird shit, and like they did some weird shit after Robert was king, and they've killed some people they probably shouldn't have. Like, I mean, they've done some awful stuff.
Sure. Like, but Jaime from killing the king to pushing Bran out the window, he didn't really do anything crazy in that time period.
They killed John Aaron.
We don't.
I mean, it's kind of very.
Jaime is a knight. Yeah, sure. But
we don't know Jaime anything involved. It seems like Cersei, Jaime, some combination.
It was Cersei. It was still Lannisters.
They don't have any secrets.
That's what I'm saying.
The facts of the matter is Jaime killed Aerys and Jaime pushed Bran out the window. We know those two things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And between there, like, you can say, obviously the Bran thing's awful, but killing the Mad King, everyone referred to him as the Mad King, is that such a bad thing? Like, I get it. You threw away your honor of a knight, but we don't need to go too far on it.
Well, I like the fact, like, you read the quote, but we didn't really talk about it. I think this is a really interesting quote, right? Like, he is 100% right here. Defend the king, obey your father. If those are two things that you're sworn to do as a knight, who's attacking King's Landing when he kills, like, Aerys? It's Tywin.
Right. Yeah.
Defend the king, obey your father. You're in a fucking rock and a hard place right there. It's literally like, if you're a computer, divide by 0, explode, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Can't compute.
I don't want to say more about it because we hear the story again in much better detail.
Yeah, we'll get some more information on some of this stuff. So we don't have to linger too long. But what his point here about vows is true. Like, you get put in what you're saying, Jeff. Like, sometimes it just you can't do it. It's like a paradox.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And that was his point earlier of saying all those rules.
Yeah.
Was that it's literally impossible to follow.
Yeah.
And here he is giving an example. You're right. Yep.
So, Nels, just go through the quick story about Ned's dad dying.
basically they start talking about Brandon. She's like, "Do you even know how he died?" And Kat's like, "I don't want to know. Like, dead's dead. Don't tell me." And it gets her thinking like what was actually happening. Also, interesting thing, Jamie here, quote, talking about Brandon, he had blood in his veins instead of cold water, more like me. How many times? Jamie's just said twice, there are no men like me. He literally, like, 5 seconds later says Brandon is more like, again, he's not saying he's like me, more like me than Ned.
More like me, not me exactly. Yeah.
Again, I think also interesting, we don't know Brandon, but like blood in his veins instead of cold water, I guess it means like he's like more hot tempered and
maybe.
Probably, yeah. Like he lived.
Or he has more feeling.
Yeah, he's living rather than a robot.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, she basically says what was happening was Brandon was on his way to marry me, literally on his way to River Run when he got news that his sister was kidnapped. And what does Brandon do? He says, "Fuck going to River Run. We're going to save my sister." Where's Rhaegar, the guy who took my sister? King's Landing, capital. We're there. Goes there.
Yep.
Shows up, and then basically
completely outnumbered.
Cat doesn't know what happens, right? Cat says, "All I know is he did not come here, and my dad." Hoster called him a gallant fool, right? Hoster wasn't too happy. He was trying to get his daughter married to a lord.
Well, he knew that this was
future
a
lord.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he rode him to the Red Keep. This is where Jamie So Jamie finishes the rest of his wine, and then he finishes basically Cat's story, the part that Cat doesn't know about.
Hang on. Ned's whole dream, right? Or somebody's dream was about this red building.
So Dany has a dream of the house with the red door. That's like Dany's home before she was on the
run. I thought Ned had a red building dream.
I don't recall.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Ned has an important dream. I can find it. I just don't know if there's a mention of any buildings.
Thought it was a red building and a girl screaming inside or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're right. No, it's the red tower, right?
Yeah.
Mouse.
Which could be the Red Keep.
I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't know what they mentioned. I don't want to say anything.
I understand. 100%.
I mean, from Kyle's context clues, he sounds like he.
I understand what you're saying, Jeff, but at the same time, I don't want to be wrong about this dream and building my theory off of something that's wrong. Nelson has this web of notes that we should be using, right?
He dreamt an old dream of 3 knights in white cloaks in a tower long fallen, and Lyanna in her bed of blood. In the dream, his friends were with him as he had in life: proud Martin Cassell, Jory's father, faithful Leo Wool, Ethan Glover. Which is interesting because I think in the quote we're about to read,
we mention all of them right here.
I think Ethan Glover
100% is
the only one who survives, but I don't think he survives Ned's dream. So in his dream, his friends rode with him as they had in life: proud Martin Cassell, Jory's father, faithful Leo Wool, Ethan Glover, who had been Brandon's squire, Sir Mark Wisewell, soft of speech and gentle of heart, the Crannogman Howland Reed, Lord Dustin on his great red stallion. Ned had known their faces as well as he known his own once, but the years leach out of man's memories, even those he had vowed never to forget. In the dream, they were only shadows, gray race on horse made of mist. He says a tower long fallen, and he says Lord Dustin has a red horse. It doesn't say the tower.
No, I'm wrong then.
Just a tower.
You're right.
There is a tower, though. There is a tower.
Yeah.
Well, so he also says tower long fallen, so
yeah,
take that for what it's worth.
No, you're right. What I was going to say is that maybe I'm mixing both Dany's dream and Ned's dream.
You might be, yep.
And the red is not present in both.
Dany's got the red door. Ned's got the tower.
Yeah.
All right, so Jamie picks up the story after he finishes the wine.
He rode into the Red Keep with a few companions, shouting for Prince Rhaegar to come out and die. But Rhaegar wasn't there. Aerys sent his guards to arrest them all for plotting his son's murder. The others were Lord's sons too, it seems to me.
Ethan Glover was Brandon's squire. He was the only one to survive. The others were Geoffrey Mallister, Kyle Royce, and Elbert Aaron, John Aaron's nephew and heir.
It was queer how she still remembered their names after so many years.
Ares accuses them of treason and summoned their fathers to court to answer the charge with their sons as hostages. When they came, he had them murdered without a trial, fathers and sons both.
There were trials, of a sort. Lord Rickard demanded trial by combat, and the king granted the request. Stark armored himself as for battle, thinking to duel one of the king's guard. Me, perhaps. Instead, they took him to the throne room and suspended him from the rafters, while 2 of Ares' pyromancers kindled a blaze beneath him. The king told him that fire was the champion of House Targaryen, so all Lord Rickard needed to do to prove himself innocent of treason was, well, not burn.
I gotta interrupt the quote. How awesome is that? The fire. You gotta fucking fight fire. Good luck, buddy.
It's fucking.
It's not very fair.
We pick fire.
All right, I pick water.
So again, it's interesting. Like we don't know. Like what do we know about the Mad King, right?
We burned everybody, right?
That's pretty much what we know. And but we don't have too many like firsthand accounts of it, and this is kind of one of them. So this might have been commonplace. You know what I mean? Like if Stark had a few more people in King's Landing, maybe he knew that. Maybe he knew this was the Ares
he wasn't going to actually fight anybody.
Yeah, we picked this giant hole that's 400 feet deep. Good luck beating it, bud. Yeah. The moon door. Good luck.
Exactly. It's like when Tyrion demands trial by combat. Ours is falling and just pushing through.
It's too funny.
When the fire was blazing, Brandon was brought in. His hands were chained behind his back, and around his neck was a wet leathern cord attached to a device the king had brought from Tyrosh. His legs were left free, and his longsword was set down just beyond his reach. The pyromancers roasted Lord Rickard slowly, banking and fanning that fire carefully to get a nice even heat. His cloak caught first, and then his surcoat, and soon he wore nothing but metal and ashes. Next he would start to cook, Ares promised, unless the sun could free him. Brandon tried, but the more he struggled, the tighter the cord constricted around his throat. In the end, he strangled himself. As for Lord Rickard, the steel of his breastplate turned cherry red before the end, and his gold melted off his spurs and dripped down into the fire. I stood at the foot of the Iron Throne in my white armor and white cloak, filling my head with thoughts of Cersei. After Gerald Hightower himself took me aside and said to me, "You swore a vow to the guard of the king, not to judge him. That was the White Bull, loyal to the end, and a better man than me. All agree."
So, again, I think this is kind of interesting. Jamie basically says, I did not like what I was seeing. I was trying to take my mind off of it. And another one of the Kingsguard could see it on my face. He was the Lord Commander. Gerald Hightower was the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard at the time.
I mean, I'm sure that's something you're not looking straight into very easily. A guy burning to death and a guy strangling himself.
But Jamie kind of gets scolded for this. And his point here is I'm getting scolded by a man who everyone says is better, who was totally okay with this. And I'm getting scolded for not being okay with it. So again, Jamie's a dickhead.
Agree. That's what I'm saying. Like you hear the story and you're like, okay, like I'm not going to fight you on that one.
I think this kind of jaded him a little, I'm sure, like he's like, I've seen some shit. I've seen what people do to stay in power. So that's what we're doing.
Like one of those things where like a lot of the times like violent crime, like perpetrators were also victims when they were like younger or something like that. Like this is kind of Jamie's awakening into being an asshole. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, maybe I don't know if
it can't help. It definitely can't help. I agree.
It's a core memory.
Yeah. And Kat's response is basically like, don't try and make me think.
Don't tell me you killed him, that you tried to avenge Brandon by doing this.
Yeah, he's like, that's not what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck about you and the Starks. Doesn't mean shit to me.
She keeps calling him Kingslayer. He's all pissed off. There's another big Jamie quote here too.
What at Robert's coronation, he was forced to kneel at Pycelle and Varys, and then was like supposed to forgive the king. Like made this whole big show about like, or might be forgiven by the king rather. Made this whole big show of him swearing his loyalty
for our crime. I think his point here is our crimes. Like he's upset that he's being accused of a crime when he thinks that he kind of didn't do anything wrong, I think is what he's saying here. And the thing that I think is confusing, I think what you're getting to, Jeff, is he says, I will say, I think it passing odd that I'm loved by one for a kindness I never did, but reviled by so many for my finest act.
Yep. What is the kindness?
I don't know.
I don't know. I was trying to think of the kindness.
I was wondering if it was the same thing. Like, I'm wondering, is it the same thing?
The kindness he didn't do, though. Like,
well, so is it? Yeah, because Ned didn't like him. Who liked him? Who liked Jamie? I don't know anybody that liked
Tyrion.
Jamie.
That's basically it. Cersei, Jamie. If they're not named Lannister, they
don't
like if they're not named Lannister, they don't like Jamie pretty much.
So,
that's so
maybe a little bit mystery about the kindness.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like he killed probably the worst king. The Mad King. He killed him. Like that's. Again, it's dishonorable what he did. He was supposed to protect him, and he turned his back on him, but. Was around better for it.
And again, we've heard he's the Mad King before, and like theoretically, we 100%. Believe that he was burning people, but it's not like the thought ever crossed our mind, like, oh, maybe Jamie was doing something good. And again, I'm still not claiming that. Like, we don't know. Like, yes, he was. This incident is pretty fucking fucked up, But like, does it mean that if you're in the Kingsguard, you just stab your king in the back? Like, society falls apart if shit like that happens. If a Kingsguard just kills the king anytime they do something they don't like, you know what I mean? So that's.
I was gonna say, I think it was Jamie is cloaking his deed in this good deed idea, essentially, right? Like he was doing it because he knew he would get some power, and he was getting his family into power because Cersei was with Robert at that point.
Time was
right?
on the doorstep of King's Landing. Yeah, so.
Exactly. So I mean, like, I think he's doing this important deed for his family at the same time, but he can disguise it as if it was this good for the realm. Like what I did was saving people, but I think he had ulterior motives.
But to that, though, he says, as for your Ned, he should have kissed the hand that slew Ares, but preferred to scorn the arse that sat on Robert's throne. So, like, to your point, like, he is sitting on the Iron Throne when like, Ned comes in, right? Like, we've heard that before. But it seems like if he wanted power, like, could he have just, like, is there a chance Jamie could taken it or gotten it
Why couldn't he just fought Ned right there?
Exactly, like, and somehow given it to Tywin or something? Is that a possibility? I don't know. So, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying, like, if there was ever a time to like really try and claim some power, it seems like he didn't really do it in the moment when he could have tried to.
But I think if you do it that way, then 100% it's very obvious for yourself. Whereas this way, he's kind of hiding it and cloaking it in this other lie.
Yeah, after you kill Ned, does everybody just like, okay, Jamie's king now, cool? Like,
fuck this guy.
Like,
yeah,
what does
exactly.
Robert do? Yeah, exactly. So.
All right, so the Ned conversation keeps going past that, and like, well, Ned loved Robert better than he ever loved his brother or his father, or even you, my lady. And he was never unfaithful to Robert, but he did have that bastard. So who's got the honor now? Yeah, I never cheated. I never cheated on Cersei.
Well, he also goes into, wait, didn't Littlefinger and you bang a while back? Like, you weren't even a virgin when you guys got together, right?
I never eat off another man's trencher.
Yeah, like, that's disgusting. Wait, I take back that offer at the beginning.
Which isn't really true, because Cersei was banged by Robert.
Yeah, she had to have been, right? Like, we know most of the time she was able to avoid it, but there's no way she never got banged by Robert at least once, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. She says she finished him off in ways that wasn't in her, so.
And Cersei's banging all those other dudes, right?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Well, Lancel.
Cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he is.
So Jeff, hit that quote. Hit one to finish it. Let's finish it off. I'd never lay with any woman but Cersei.
I've never lain with any woman but Cersei. In my own way, I have been truer than your Ned ever was. Poor old dead Ned. So who has shit for honor now, I ask you? What was the name of that bastard he fathered?
Catelyn took a step backward.
Brienne.
No, that wasn't it.
Jaime Lannister upended the flagon. Trickle ran down onto his face, bright as blood.
Snow. That was the one. Such a white name. Like the pretty cloaks they give us in the Kingsguard when we swear our pretty oaths.
Bran pushed open the door and stepped inside the cell.
You called, my lady?
Give me your sword.
Catelyn held out her hand.
Dun dun dun.
And then we don't know what happens, but Kyle.
I don't think she kills him here. I think she has to or restrain herself, rather, withhold doing the urges.
Does she take a hard swing over top of his head to scare him?
I think Brienne might give her the sword. Maybe she'll hit him. Maybe she'll hit him with the fat side, or the hilt right in the head, bonk him.
Nice bonk.
I don't see either of those really happening though. I think if she pulls out this sword essentially and Cat gets a sword, I don't know that she's going to use it well, and Jaime might end up with it. But he's shackled, so I'm not too worried about that.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
So you don't think? I guess you don't think she's killing him? Like Jamie's dead next time?
Yes. No, I don't think Jamie's dead, and I don't think the kids are dead either. Okay. So I guess that's where I'm at in terms of predictions.
I don't really have anything more pointed questions, but like we did get a bunch of like history-ish information, and we kind of talked through a lot of it as we went. And I don't know if there's any predictions to be made off any of that stuff, but like,
can you predict history?
I was going to ask the same question.
One of our friends wished that there was a way to bet on like on Saturday mornings they would show like famous like college football games from like 20 years ago, like classic, like NHL or NCAA classics or something like that. He's like, dude, I wish I could bet on this. I'm like, you could just look it up though.
Yeah, like
it's exactly that.
So it's Back to the Future Part 2.
Exactly, Bill. Or what's his name? Biff.
it's even dumber than that though.
Biff.
Yeah, and I don't know about predictions, but like just anything we want to talk about with like that whole situation. We kind of talked about it like while we were going through it.
I mean, we kind of did. I think.
Is that the first time we heard of how the Stark men died from carrying? That's pretty fucking
We've heard
brutal.
that they both died. Like when, like we've heard like when Starks go south, it's not good. Like you know what I mean? But
I thought
Yes.
the contraption was connected. Like when he was running for his sword that like brought him to the fire type thing. Do you know what I mean? Like
I think it was more of just choking him more. It was like
Yeah.
ratcheting his neck type.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I was saying like
I know what you're saying.
it's
Yeah.
so fucked up, dude.
he was choking and he needed a sword to cut himself
But the
loose.
pyromancers were completely. It wasn't like a fire burning on the floor. It was like a magic spell.
Well, they were controlling it, right? So to make it so that he cooked evenly, right? So it was like on
So
the
that's what I'm
sides
saying.
or
Like
something.
they were.
Yeah.
It was moving around and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't a stationary.
Either it wasn't stationary or he wasn't stationary. I don't know that.
Well, the source might have been stationary. You want to argue that semantic? Go for it. But
I feel like
the
you're
fire
claiming
was
these
swirling
pyromancers had
around
like some
him.
crazy power where they're like casting fireballs all over. the
I
place.
think they were just like blowing air on it, right? And just like,
You
all right,
just watched
your
a
side's
dude
too.
fucking climb a ladder made of fire into the sky. You're gonna tell me that there's not somebody that can just conjure fire?
There weren't dragons back then, though. We know dragons help with some of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
There was no dragons when Ares was around. Maybe.
Maybe.
Again, I think either way, it could be magical. It could be not magical. Yeah, we have been here for a while. I shouldn't have tried to keep that going. But yeah, I think the Rickard Brandon death is crazy.
All right, bye, Kyle.
But yeah, we'll sign off. Been going for a while.
Bye.
Bye, Kyle. See you in the
All
next
right,
one.
later,
See the
nerds.
rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Hey y'all, Editor Nelson here. Before we get into the spoiler section, here's a clip I decided to move from near the end of the non-spoiler section to here, just because, well, you'll see.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is the show playing into your predictions a lot?
The brand one for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair.
None of the other ones because I don't know about Jamie. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know anything about his storyline. I couldn't tell you. What
I
he
was
looked
more
like on the
curious
show.
about.
I
Yeah.
might move that to the spoiler section.
Maybe.
just to be safe.
What'd you say?
Bye, Kyle. See you on the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Now, on to the spoiler section for Catelyn 7. Jeff, what are your hot takes?
So I just want to start this off by saying that Kyle is a firm believer that the Lannisters still killed Jon Arryn, and he admitted it, and thinks Jamie had like a big piece in that as well. It's what you're supposed to believe.
100%. Like, many characters believe it for sure.
I'm not saying he shouldn't believe it.
It's one of those things where it's like unreliable narrator. Like, multiple characters have thought like 100% it was these guys.
I was gonna say like I almost said in the
I saw
non-spoiler,
you going there,
like
yeah.
we don't know that he. Oh fuck! Like I don't want to influence him.
Yeah, I think you did say that, and I was like, well, Cersei and him are kind of the same, which was me trying to be like, yeah, we don't know if it was him or Cersei, but
I threw it off like, do you really think dumbass Jamie was like involved in that?
yeah, it was kind of just like, yeah, him and Cersei. I was like, I mean, we know what we're getting at is Littlefinger, right? So
yeah. So I do, I'm not going to say it again. I've said enough in the non-spoiler. Like Jamie makes some good points here. And I think I've said to you at times that the Lannisters, even though they're not pure good, they're not pure evil too.
well, no, yeah, I said it, I feel like I was almost giving Kyle too much in this when I was saying like George has said he doesn't like the good versus bad. Even your bad guys he tries to make everybody 50-50, I feel like, right?
I mean, let's just look at Ned. Everyone loves Ned, probably more because of the guy that plays him, right? The Bean guy. What's his name?
Even while we're on that, like the Ned thing, what did Kyle say about Ned? He would never like sacrifice his honor or whatever for somebody he
did.
loved. He did. Kyle's
He did.
wrong. He doesn't know this, but he
Yeah.
did. Right. And it's one of those things like, are you sacrificing your honor if nobody knows about it? Like, honor is such a weird thing. Like, in Ned's mind, he gave away his honor by lying to people, even though nobody knows he's lying. He kept the lie so well, nobody knows he lied.
The question is, and I think, well, one, you want Ned to have had a kid.
Well, what do you mean? We know he has kids.
You want Ned to have cheated on Kat.
I want John. If John's Brandon's, I'm fine with that. I think John being Brandon's makes more sense.
Brandon's and Brandon and who? Liana?
Ashara. We know that Ashara liked Brandon. Like Ashara and Brandon danced together at the tourney at Harrenhal.
But I thought you said you wanted Ned to be a dad of Danny or something.
Either Ned or Brandon could fit the mold for John's dad. I think John is a star.
Either way, then he did lose his honor, and you could say the same thing.
Even if he either actually cheated on Kat,
right,
or he's lying to everybody about John's parentage. Again, it doesn't make sense why he's lying to everybody about John's parentage if it's Brandon's, because if it's Brandon's, just tell everybody it's Brandon's. Robert's not going to kill it because it's not related to a Targaryen, and you know what I mean.
And let's just say this one thing, like, it's kind of weird that people. I'll say this last. I'll say what I was just about to say last. He maybe is the greatest liar ever because he played this part where I'm honorable. Like, I don't do anything wrong. But people just forgot that he just cheated on his wife and had this bastard. But I guess, like, are they looking at whoring as a dishonorable thing? I'm going to say no, right? Like, if they're seeing that if you just pay a whore, sleep with her, get her pregnant, that's just like part of life. That's not cheating.
Even to the point where, like, nobody in the world forgets that Jaime killed the king. But if you ask anybody about Ned, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's an honorable guy. Yeah, he has a bastard, but he's an honorable guy.
Oh, does he have a bastard? Oh, it must have been that one whore somewhere. Like, nobody even knows who the girl is. Nobody knows who the girl is.
It's like, you're right. Like, in Ned's mind and in Rob's mind, right? Because we find out he basically falls into a similar trap. He marries this girl because he took her, like, because he fucked her. And he doesn't want to dishonor her.
He doesn't want to dishonor her, yeah.
Right. So he dishonors himself by breaking an oath instead of dishonoring her. Which, again, like, fuck it, just dishonor her. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, you're done. Nobody would ever look at Rob any different. Which, again, is very it's a very sexist society.
It's very sexist for sure.
But it shows that it shows we know like George is a feminist, right? Like, he's all for, like, equality and all that stuff. It shows that the good characters behave like you should, right? Like, I'm not going to just say, fuck you, you're a woman because I can, because society treats me better. I'm going to treat you as an equal and protect your honor like I would protect anybody else's honor, because honor is important. It's the Stark thing, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, Theon, too. Theon had sex with the captain's daughter, and now the dad hates her, right? Like, in his first trip back home. All right. So the first big real take of this, like, new take is her own quote about she's become a sour woman, empty place where her heart once was.
Yeah, so this is Stoneheart.
Yep.
Foreshadowing. And with that, I had something else.
I do too.
Song and laughter, right before that, I think there's a different quote that says, song and laughter are suspicious strangers to me. Stranger is the god of death. Song and laughter.
And somebody's horse. Bran's horse.
Stranger is the hound's horse.
Okay. Yeah, Dancer
is Bran. Smilers is Theon's. But yeah, so song and laughter are suspicious strangers to me. Stranger, god of death. Song and laughter is what's happening when Cat dies. Red wedding. Right. Everybody's laughing. Songs playing. Like,
for sure.
Stranger. So I thought that, like, stuck out. And then follows right into what you were saying, right?
One more off of this too.
Yeah, go ahead.
She would enjoy passing the sentence of Theon. I'm making a prediction here.
Okay, I like it.
Lady Stoneheart's coming to kill Theon.
What if Lady Stoneheart somehow learns that Theon didn't kill Bran? Thing is, Lady Stoneheart might not give a fuck. The fact that you pretended to kill Bran, you're gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that might be enough.
Yeah. How much got put forth in action because the belief that Theon killed the two, right?
Again, we kind of talked about this a little bit at the end of the spoiler section last time, because I had already read a little bit, so I was getting excited about the cat stuff. But I said, like, Rob doesn't go north if Theon doesn't come to Bran. Like, so, which means he never goes back to the twins, right?
Right.
Which means he never dies.
Which means he at least fights a little bit longer.
Yeah, so I guess the scenario I was proposing is if Theon doesn't do his shit. Like, say Cat says, hey, don't send Theon home. So Theon doesn't get sent home. Yeah. They stay there. I mean, even then, the North would probably still get attacked by the Ironborn, so Robert might want to go north. Let's say that just doesn't happen. For some reason, the Ironborn don't attack the North, right? And Rob still does what he does. Marries Jane Westerling, fucks over the phrase. Cool.
Mhm.
He doesn't have to go north right now. So
Yeah.
he doesn't have to deal with going to Walder Frey's house.
And again, like, you can kind of go west. Like, they just won a lot of the west, right?
Yeah.
You could probably get on a ship and sail home.
Well, you're true. I guess the next question is, the reason he goes to the Freys is not just because he's going north. It's also because Edmure's getting married. But like
Right.
to that point, like does Ned? So say they somehow say, oh, we're gonna smooth up the Frey stuff with the Edmure marriage. Again, like Tywin's working on this already. Red Wedding might be in motion. Like there might be zero shot the Freys ever join the Starks again. Let's say that they do. Like, let's say the Edmure thing works out. There's no Stannis Red Wedding, and Robb never goes there, right? Maybe the Red Wedding gets called off if Robb isn't actually coming that way,
Mhm.
right? So there's the wedding. Edmure goes, has it. What does Robb do? Like if Robb doesn't go north, to your point, without taking a ship to the north to like just save his lands, like say he stays in the Riverlands, what's his next move?
Yeah.
Because what his next move basically is in Storm of Swords is go north. He basically just starts going to the Freys.
He probably just chills in Riverrun, right? Like Stannis is about to start fighting the Lannisters. Tywin runs south. Let them fight. You know, maybe try and get the Tyrells on your side. Like, here's the other thing:
I'm
is
sure
like,
we're gonna have chapters where he kind of talks this through, saying like, "Hey, I can't do this, I can't do that." I just don't really remember. It seems like there's really no good options.
So let me throw this at you right now. Other than it being dishonorable, what's stopping Robb from thinking Marjorie Tyrell is out there for the picking? I should send word to Marjorie and be like, "Hey, you can, like, don't worry about this pact. Like, you come be my queen."
You could do that, and again, like Mace might be on board, even with like knowing that he's breaking this other pact. He's like, okay, so what? The Freys have 8,000 men. We have 40,000.
So what? The Freys
we'll win that fight. Exactly. Like we're bigger. We win that.
Like at some point, like you siege them, and you could take the Freys out of the Twins. Like, I get it. Like, it'd take a long time, but you could do it.
Yeah.
Once you've won the war, if you really wanted the Freys out of there, if that was like your last enemy, you handled the Freys.
I think to that point it's just a little late. Littlefinger got there too early. Like even
the ball's already in motion for sure.
It's just not a bad idea though. It's a good idea what you're saying, but like they even said it in that council chamber when they sent Littlefinger. They're like, "Yo, if we want this to happen, we got to go quick because Stannis sent people there to Bitterbridge, so we got to get to Bitterbridge before Stannis's people." So Robb would have needed to be thinking, "We got to get to Bitterbridge before both their peoples."
If Robb had Littlefinger-ish, Varys-ish type of people on his council, and it's not just Northmen fighting to fight the North story type thing, they would have been like, dude, like, fuck the Freys. Like, we already got, like, the problem would have been, like, you have some Freys with you. Like, you might have had some internal fighting.
Yeah.
But again, if you're getting a bigger
that's
ally,
what happens. Robb comes back to Riverrun and the Freys are pissed and leave. Like when Robb gets back to Riverrun, all the Freys that were with him get pissed and leave. And basically convince all the Freys that are at Riverrun and like are chill with all the Riverrun people.
Edmure.
They're like, no, fuck, we don't like those people anymore. We're gone.
Yeah,
that's kind of what happens. So
so it's just interesting.
Getting back to this chapter, she thinks when on the wolves topic, she thinks Sansa and Arya don't have their wolves anymore. Not in the next. I think the next Arya chapter is her escaping from Harrenhal, and then the chapter after that is her warging Nymeria for the first. Like, so Arya's about to be reconnected. Not actually reconnected, but like,
and we hear of a bad bitch running around the Riverlands, right, or wherever they are.
Well, like when Nymeria wargs so Arya escapes Riverrun, the bloody mummers chase her, like 3 of them, not Vargohode or any like the main ones, but like 3 no names. And not no names, like we'll recognize 1 or 2 of them, I think.
Yeah.
But Arya is like, we got to go. They're on our trail, and eventually, when they finally decide, okay, finally, we have to go to sleep. Arya is like, she dreams of being in Nymeria, and she's like, that she was stalking someone who thought they were the hunters, but they were about to become the hunted, and then basically they destroy it. And she's describing the bloody mummers.
What actually happens?
Arya wakes up and doesn't think anything of it, thinks it was just a dream. Like, we got to keep going. But like, it's kind of obvious that Arya just warred into Nymeria and killed the people that were chasing her. Yeah.
No, it's dope. It kind of sucks to be Sansa.
So I don't know if I buy too much into this theory, but I did mention in the last Sansa chapter, there's this weird Sansa Hound connection. And the reason I don't buy into it is the Hound's about to leave and not be near Sansa for the rest of the books that we have.
And we just don't have anything like a Sansa dream of being in the Hound,
Well,
like
she talks about the Hound a decent amount. Like again, the big
talking
thing.
is not warging.
Hawking? What do you mean?
Just talking about the Hound.
You're right.
isn't,
You're right. You're right. Yeah. I
Like
agree.
if she went to sleep and like relived the Hound getting burned in the face, like then I'd be like, okay, like maybe there's something there type thing. But
I'm with you. I don't really buy this theory. I just heard it, and then when Kat said like, "Oh, neither of my daughters have their wolves," in my mind, I'm like Arya's about to have her wolf, kind of again, not like with her, but like she's about to have access that way.
yeah,
And also interesting, like Nymeria is around Arya now. Why is Arya not warging her now?
right.
Well, we're inside this Harrenhal. Is there magic in Harrenhal? Like
Yes.
there's in Winterfell and Storm's End and the Wall where warg powers don't work inside and out. That kind of weird shit.
And Arya starts warging cats then.
Yeah, once she gets to Bravos, yeah.
Why hasn't Sansa ever had a wargish
Warg
type
stuff.
dream?
Yeah, I don't know. So the other thing is Arya is made blind, right? Which helps her. Again,
Her senses.
Bran connects with his warg.
Bran's broke.
He can start controlling it once he's broken and in the crypts where it's complete pitch darkness.
It's like L.
Exactly. It's exactly like L. Like I don't know how
Sensory-
you just started watching Stranger Things, but yes.
I finished it. I finished it.
I feel like it would be hard for me to convince you that sensory deprivation increases telekinetic powers in like normal like sci-fi without you seeing.
I mean, I've seen Big Bang Theory, and they had like a little skit on Sheldon going into it. And then he like almost solved string theory through.
Well, people do like Joe Rogan. Like weird people do that. Like Joe Rogan goes into like a ice cold float tank every day.
Yeah, I mean,
for, like,
I
an
heard
hour
it's
or
either like it's awesome or like you trip heavy ball sack.
yeah,
and
it's kind of like doing drugs or something sometimes. I guess I don't know.
I don't know.
I've never done it, but
I'd be worth a
open.
try.
Yeah.
I'd hop in. So I have one more thing, and then like other than like the big things that we know, that she's about to set Jamie free, which I didn't put any of those notes on, but I'm sure you did. Brienne, and it's just kind of a talking point. Brienne says they're now with the gods, and Kat immediately questions that. The only reason I put this down is because Kat becomes a fucking demon woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she was a pretty godly person, and becomes like
The undead.
a zombie.
Yeah.
Like which god? It kind of asks me which. It kind of makes me
what is
think
her
of
god
which
that
god
controls
is she
her?
working
Yeah.
for? Yeah, is she a red god thing? Because who saved her?
Song and laughter are suspicious strangers to me. Is the strange? I mean,
Is it just a stranger? Is the stranger working on his own? Is there actually a new god?
what does Kat do as Lady Stoneheart? She just hangs people. She literally goes around hanging any fray.
Yeah.
Are you a fray? Dead. Did you have any part of the Red Wedding? No. Dead. Don't give a fuck. Dead. Brienne? Oh, I know you. Dead. Hanged. Are you gonna kill Jamie? No. Dead. Hanged. Like
She's death.
She's not
She's death.
reasonable. There's no reason there anymore. She is death. She's like the
We'll
stranger.
we'll find out when. I mean, you might actually know from Winter Winter chapters what happens when Brienne meets her. I haven't read.
I don't think there's none of that in any of the sample release chapters.
Gotcha. That's when we're gonna really find out what she's all about.
It's gonna be cool. Yeah, because the last thing we see with her is her tale. Basically, Brienne's about to be hung. Her and Podrick are about to be hung, and she says you either have to go kill Jamie or you die. So like say sword or say nothing or something, or say
Sword.
and it says like Brienne said a word. Like Brienne looked at Podrick and then Brienne said a word or something like that. That's how the chapter ends. So you don't know what she said. You don't know what the choice was. But like the way
Arya.
it's phrased,
She says Arya.
it looks like she looks at Podrick. Like Brienne's gonna die. She's like, I'm not gonna kill Jamie. I will kill. Like you can kill me before I'll kill Jamie. He held up his bargain as best he could. Is basically her stance on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she looks at Podrick and he's like, but he doesn't. In my mind, I think the accepted like what most people think about this is looks at Podrick and it's like, I'm not gonna let Podrick die for this. I'm gonna figure something out. Kind of like Ned. I'm going to sacrifice my honor. I'm going to tell Kat, yes, I'll go kill Jamie, even though I'm not going to save Podrick.
And they'll let Pod run
Exactly,
away.
just to get Pod away. Like maybe just
out.
walk out, let Pod out, and then come back. We know that doesn't happen because in the last Jamie chapter, we hear that Brienne is there to talk to him. She's like, hey, there's somebody showed up. Our Outriders found her. She says she needs you like ASAP. He's like, who is it? Brienne Tarth. Okay, that's the cut of the Jamie chapter. So you're right. Like that is like I can't wait to see what the fuck happens next in that storyline. Kind of along those lines, like Brienne, what's her next story? Like after the Jamie thing, what's Brienne's storyline?
She has to take Jamie back, right?
Yep. So after that, what's her?
And then it's bring Sansa and Arya back to Coldheart, Stoneheart.
Keep them safe or whatever, right? But like what I think is interesting here, and you were going into it, you were going into in the non-spoiler, like all this, like there's like a big info dump about Sansa and a big info dump about Arya.
Yeah.
And in my notes, that was one of the things that I didn't even have any notes on. I was like, in my notes, I said Kat is telling Brienne about Sansa and Arya because her whole story is about to be about Sansa and Arya.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Like
actually,
all that stuff we got was like we know all this already.
I thought that was more for like just Kat's peace of mind.
Some of the stuff you said was like how you were thinking like, oh, she'll be okay, and like how Arya's like, oh, she might be fucked. I think there's some truth to that, but I think a lot of it was, hey, this is kind of foreshadowing of
hey, how's Brienne gonna think back into, all right, now I need to find Sansa. I know she's the pretty, like super pretty with red hair.
Yep.
Oh, Arya has a horse face that looks like Ned.
But she's like rough and dirty and she's gonna have scabs.
Like curse at me when I try to take her and shit. Yeah, it's a good point now. So I didn't even think about that till now.
So let's go to some Brandon Rickon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The wolf thing. I think we talked about this in the last chapter too. But like, Kat thinks there's no way Brandon Rickon will be dead while the wolves are alive, and we know the wolves are alive, which would then Let's just say this: like the wolves would have taken a couple. They might have died, right? We're gonna see Grey Wind die. We've seen. Lady didn't really fight, but they're not impervious by any means.
Grey Wind doesn't kill anybody at the Red Wedding. I don't remember.
No, he's in a cage the whole time.
He's in a cage. So you would think Grey Wind,
which sucks, dude,
would have like a wolf sense and be like, "I'm not getting caged. I'm running." Like he should have. Maybe he's just that loyal to Rob. He's brought up a little bit differently, but
you'll see as soon as. Again, like I fucking love it.
Do they like walk up and he's like fucking weird, like he's growling at River Run?
So. We're going to get a Kat chapter, I think, where she's basically talks to the people at River Run, and they're like, what the fuck did you do? You let this guy go. Like, it's Desmond Grell and, like, Sir Authorized Wayne, who are, like, her father's men. They've known Kat since she was a kid. They're, like, they're not about to put her in a dungeon. It's, like, a super uncomfortable situation for them, right? Like, nothing immediately has changed, but it was a really bad move by Kat. They've sent men out to try and capture him, but they're like, what are we going to do with you? Like, we can't just let you do whatever you want anymore. You're clearly a liability. And she's like, just lock me in my father's room. And they're like, oh, cool. Like, the one guy's like, thank God.
Deal.
I just don't want to deal with this. That's a great deal. I'm out. And he was like, I don't want to deal with this. You're good. So then she's locked there. And I think there's a chapter where she's stuck there and we get Tansy tea and all that stuff. Next Cat chapter in Storm of Swords, Rob comes back. And she comes into the Great Hall and basically... When she tells Rob what happens, he's not super upset. She's like, why aren't you upset? Like, there's something weird here. And then she's like, wait, Grey Wind's like, where's Grey Wind? First off, all the Westerlings who were supposed to be like captives, right? He just took over the crack. Are like on the dais. He's like, she's like, why are they all up there? And he's like, and where's Grey Wind? And when she actually asked Rob about it, it's like, oh, like once everybody leaves, it's just her and Rob. And he's like, oh, Grey Wind doesn't like any of them. Like, doesn't like the smell of any of them. And she's like, well, then get the fuck rid of him, Rob. Like, if Grey Wind doesn't like him, I don't want him to fuck around. And Rob's like, are you serious? And she's like, yes, I'm actually serious. Like, I don't want them anywhere near you. If he's like, should I have Grey Wind smell every person who wants to talk to me? And she's like, yes, it's actually a great idea, Rob. It's actually a genius idea.
Yeah, like, why did you stop? It's probably to the point of like, all right, like let's think about a quote you said earlier, like love is the end of duty. Love is the death of duty. His love for Jane Westerling is taking away from his kind of like, I guess it's love for Grey Wind, but like Grey Wind's like a soldier to him, you know.
It's the same thing. It's the things I do for love. I'm gonna lock up Grey Wind. Right. I think Rob also in that chapter starts saying like he's not the same mom. Like after he's been in battle, he's eaten men. Like he doesn't behave the same in halls like you.
But I don't know if that would be true because if everything we haven't
seen a direwolf do the shit that we.
But
hear
everything that we know is that the wolves take on the personality of the owner.
100% agree with this.
If Rob can go out and murder in war and then come into a great hall and be king, Grey Wind should be able to be vicious as fuck on the field and then come by and lay at his feet in the great hall.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. What I told you what Rob said, and I have the exact same take on it as you. Like from everything we know, is wolves are like their warger, and Rob has no problem going from badass to chill. So Grey wouldn't should either in my mind. The reason Rob's locking him up is because he loves Jane and he doesn't want to offend her family. Yeah, so
interesting. I'm curious to see what Greywood does walking up the river, and if we even get that. Like, I want to hear him like growl or something. But
so the other thing I had on the Bran Rickon thing is when she comes in, when she goes to see Hoster, he is more dead than alive, yet more alive than my poor sweet sons.
Sweet, it's a lie.
Sweet, lied. They're not dead. Yeah, again, sweet. I don't know.
Glow's right. Sweet. There was a couple sweets in there. I didn't write them all down.
So, Seasons of My Love. That's this song.
This is a song.
We hear that Rhyme and the Rhymer. Got anything for it?
Doesn't Rhyme and the Rhymer die soon?
I don't know if there's anything with Rhyme and the Rhymer. You might be right. I'm not sure. I'm talking about more about the song in relation to Tyrion. The reason this song's important.
Break me down of the vocals again.
Well, the reason the song is important is because Tyrion hears Tysha sing it, right? And the only time we ever hear this song mentioned outside of Tyrion is, I think, this chapter. So the only ever time it's mentioned is Tyrion.
Okay. All right. So give me what we've heard so far.
The lyrics we have are, I loved a maid as fair as summer with sunlight in her hair. I loved a maid as red as autumn with sunset in her hair. I loved a maid as white as winter with moon glow in her hair. So we don't have spring, and we'll never get spring even through Dance of Dragons.
Why?
We just don't have the verse, right? Okay. We have summer, autumn, winter.
Let's just say Tyrion, his first one is Tysha.
So hold on, the whole thing is Tysha sings this to him, and what Tyrion says is this is a sad and sweet song, right? When Tyrion first describes this to Bronn, he says, Mirish, the seasons of my love, sweet and sad, if you understand the words, because I think he's whistling it. The first girl I ever bedded used to sing it, and I never been able to put it out of my head. So he says, sweet and sad, if you understand the words. And here in this chapter, when Kat hears it,
I was kind of just give it to like 3 different girls for Tyrion, but
she could hear Rhyme and the Rhymer singing some the faint chords of some love song drifting up from the yard. So sad and sweet. I loved a maid as red as autumn. Ryman sang with sunset in her hair. So Kat describes the song as sad and sweet here. Tyrion decides that it's sad and sweet. Again, sweet is one of those words for us that we look out for.
And they both described it as sad and sweet. Like a loving song doesn't usually sound sad, but
so I'm reading some Reddit posts here that say that's talking about this. It's saying the only thing sad about this seems it says I loved a maid, right? Which seems past tense.
They all die. The girls
exactly. Die. So, and the other thing is, what's the spring one? So this Reddit post, and I'll post this in the Discord. Let me read a little bit of this. I'll read the last bit. It's kind of a long post, but I'll read a little, like the last bit. I do believe there is another verse after the seasonal verses that further contributes to why the song is so sad. And I believe that we will get these final verses when Tyrion happens to walk into an inn or into a whorehouse. Do I hear a, where do whores go? And here's it one more time. Maybe the last time. From Tysha herself, maybe. Here's my guess at what the whole song looks like. Bold parts are mine. Again, you're not going to be able to see the bold parts, but if you check the Discord, yeah. Sure. This first verse and the last verse, basically. I loved a maid as green as spring with sunrise in her hair. We don't have the spring one, but the other ones for the hair are sunlight in her hair for summer, sunset for autumn, and moon glow for winter. So if the sun's out, setting in autumn, and moon's out in winter.
I gotcha. I'm not fighting it.
As green as spring with sunrise in her hair. I loved a maid as fair as summer with sunlight in her hair. I loved a maid as red as autumn with sunset in her hair. I loved a maid as white as winter with moon glow in her hair. I loved a maid throughout the years, now left with nothing but despair. So that last one is...
Say that one again.
I loved a maid throughout the years, now left with nothing but despair. So basically, he's talking about the same woman over these years, right?
Yeah.
Her hair just had different things in it as the years went by, sunlight, sunset, moon glow, and she died or she never loved him back.
I think it's Dany.
And it ends with, I loved a maid throughout the years, now left with nothing but despair. And again, this is just a fan's suggestion of what the end could be. But I like the idea that, like, We hear that the song is sad. Nothing really sounds sad about it. It's a love song. I loved a maid. I was in love, right? What's sad about that?
Till they're dead.
It's exactly what you said.
So I think it's Nisa. I'm going to say this. This might be like totally off the wall, but the girl, it could be like, the guy loved her, right? And like, he had to kill her.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing was too is like, is it multiple women? Could this be multiple? Because I love the maid as fair as summer, as red as autumn, as white as winter. Like, is a fair woman.
I was going literal, like Sansa has red hair. He ends up marrying Sansa. Taisha could be the girl that he bedded in summer.
I like that.
And then Dany's gonna be like, she's white of hair.
She's fair.
And I feel like she's got some weird ass moon shit that's going on.
Well, like Sansa could be as red as autumn because she has red hair.
Yep.
Then you have Love to Mate as white as winter. Could that be Dany? Because she basically has silver or white hair.
Right.
Fair hair. Again, that's blonde. Maybe Taisha's blonde. And then is Spring black or dark or something? I don't know. But like, I think Shay has dark hair. Is Shay the again? It'd be weird if Shay is the one we don't know because
I was thinking about like something. So a new, like the next girl after Dany, like if he started working for Dany.
I get that, but the thing is, like Dany's one that doesn't make sense there because I mean he doesn't love Dany. He doesn't marry Dany.
Well, he doesn't love Sansa. I guess he does think about like wanting to like.
Well, to that point, Sansa might not be it either. Maybe Penny is one of them. He like kind of likes Penny, like kind of.
Yeah.
Not really,
well, he kind of likes Sansa too. He just doesn't act on it because she's a child.
You're right. I just think this song is interesting. I don't really think we ever get more of it. I think like most of the stuff, the weird stuff we get about the song is all in this book, Clash of Kings, and I hope it comes back up.
Interesting.
Also, one of the things I want to talk about while we're kind of on the Tyrion stuff is Kyle's prediction about Tyrion that he made at the beginning with how does he hurt Cersei? He reveals Cersei and Jaime's
reveals the secret.
Is that possible still to happen? That like when he comes back with Dany, somehow he thinks that if this information actually got spread truthfully, it would give some advantage to Dany. I feel like all the kids are gone. Like, I mean, Tommen might not be dead, but like, the rest of them are dead. Like, or Marcella's.
Tommen's taking a nosedive off the Red Keep.
I guess in the books, Tommen and Marcella are both alive and potentially stay alive. I think Tommen's probably dead. I think Marcella's also. I think they all die. Cersei's prophecy is they all die, so I think they all die.
Right. I think they all die too.
Which makes me think that like revealing that Cersei and Jaime are fucking isn't that big of a reveal. Like, who cares at that point?
And let's be honest about how kind of like Jaime is very candid about it at this point.
Well, I think he like. Who cares if Kat walks upstairs and says, "Oh, Jaime told me this." Like, is it? Maybe people in Riverrun are going to believe, but eventually...
Right. There's no, like, there's no recording or anything like that, but, like, at some point, like, say he gets back to her, we know that. Say Tom and Marcella die. Say it's a little bit like the show, and Cersei ends up being in charge. At that point, do they really give a fuck?
That's the thing. I don't know. And the other thing that we have in the book is we have Aegon Targaryen, who might throw a wrench in the, is Cersei actually going to be, like, the one in charge? Like, a lot of people think that, like, a lot of the book fans think Aegon Targaryen's going to show up and Cersei's going to be gone. Like, not dead, but, like, to Castle Rock and, like, maybe come back in later.
But why would you leave the Red Keep? I feel like that would just be giving up your power. Aegon is, like, quivering, wet, and cold on Dragonstone.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought too much about it, but I think there's theories that, like, Cersei somehow...
I'm just saying, like, say she does become to power. Like, at that point, you could just be like, look, the Targaryens were fucking each other forever. Like, grow up. Yeah. Like, we're fucking.
Gotcha.
Or you want to talk shit? I'll kill you.
That's kind of what happens in the show, right? Jaime fucks Cersei's fucking Jaime. The maid
she lets the maid come in.
And she's like, who cares? Yeah, like, we're in charge now. Next one. So this is when Cat's with Hoster. So let me know if you think there's anything weird prophecy-wise, dream-wise in this one. After a time, the candle guttered and went out. Moonlight slanted between the slats of the shutters, lying pale silvery bars across her father's face. She could hear the soft whisper of his labored breathing and the endless rush of the waters, the faint chords of some love song drifting out from the yard. So sad and sweet. I loved a maid as red as autumn, Ryman sang, with sunset in her hair. Catelyn never noticed when the singing ended. Hours had passed, yet it seemed only a heartbeat before Brienne was at the door.
She was dreaming.
We got a candle guttered out, moonlight slanted through the shutters.
She got glass candled.
Or moonlighted with whatever the moonlight, right? Like,
Jaime, is that Quathy?
people think people think I guess you're right, glass candle. I think the idea is that
what's the glass candle that you needed moon?
I think the idea is that you need the moon acts as like a satellite to bounce some signal off of, or again that's like that's like if we're going, is this sci-fi, that's how that would work. Theoretically the moon is just like a metaphor for people messing with their mind or whatever. Like Jamie, there's a future one with Jamie's with Brienne, it might be after he gets his hand cut off, where he falls asleep on a weirwood stump with moonlight, with a full moonlight on his face, and he has like a really fucking weird dream.
So it's like Blood Raven or fucking.
It's one of those like, which one is it, right? But moonlight is one of those things. It's like it's kind of weird when moonlight shows up. So, and we know the candle thing. So this one says, after time a candle guttered out, moonlight slanted between the slats of the shutters, pale light, silvery bars, and then we hear the song thing. But then all of a sudden, hours passed. I do think I will say, well, I don't know if it was on the recording or not, or if I cut it out, probably. But you said that I get all my ideas from Preston Jacobs. There is definitely a Preston Jacobs.
I was joking. It wasn't on the thing.
There was definitely a Preston Jacobs mention at some point where he says there's multiple times in the books where characters lose time, is what he calls it. This is one of them. Cat loses time. Hours go by without anything, without knowing. The only time that's happened before is when Jon attacks Alistair Thorne, gets sent to his chambers. He goes back there, pets Ghost, stares at a candle, and then falls asleep and wakes up when Ghost is like scratching at the door. It seems like a sleep thing, but like it's also like that he just like that hours just passed while he was staring at this candle.
Well, you're throwing a candle into the mix.
Well, again, it's the same thing. And Cat's got this candle here, so
right.
Those are the two, so two of Preston says two of these. The Jon one I think is further fetched. This one I think there's intent there. Like why mention the candle and the moonlight right before Cat skipping time and like kind of mentioning being kind of disoriented. What does that mean? Is somebody fucking with her?
I think it's I'm just going to throw a little bit of it just being like a thing that happens. Like if you're so fucked up because of something, like you just think about it so much that
100%.
You're thinking, and then like you don't know
that it could just be that. The one thing I'm thinking is what Cat does, right? So we haven't really talked about this too much. What happens at the end of the chapters? Cat lets Jamie go, right? Like it seems like it's setting up for Cat to try and kill Jamie. Kyle's prediction was Jamie's going to get the sword, and
Bran goes too, right?
Yeah, and Kyle's prediction was like somehow Jamie's going to get the sword, which I don't think is a bad prediction.
What did she need the sword for? Does she make him promise?
I think she like makes him swear
with the sword.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. And
a knight swear.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it. It's exactly like that. Something along those lines. But like what she does after this is like so hold on. Let me get your take. You've talked a lot of shit on Cat, and I kind of tried to. I feel like you've mentioned
she ruins recently, it. She ruined everything.
You always say
she's actually
been
she's been a catalyst for everything that's gone wrong.
But I think when I mentioned that she does this on the heels of getting the Bran and Rickon news, right? Thinking that Sansa and Arya, I need to do this or else I'm never going to see them again. I feel like you were like, oh shit, you know what? I got to get...
Yeah, I'm trying... I've opened my mind to the fact that Catelyn may be the worst, but had a pretty shitty life.
Yeah, she's in a bad spot towards the end. Yeah, for sure.
So towards the end, it got pretty fucking hairy. So I understand. And she got desperate, and desperate times calls for desperate measures, and she acted on them. A lot of my Cat stuff is well before this. Like, she just acts super pompous all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe not anymore, but early on, like, I'm sure if we go back to like when she took Tyrion, and just the way she talked to people, the way she talked to Rob, like first entering his camp, like, and just her thoughts. Like maybe a lot of it's not even verbal. It's
it's good. A lot of it's good advice though that she's giving.
But she acted like or thought like we'd have to. I'm not going to say it again. I've already said it.
I know. We've talked about it. Yeah, go back and listen to all the Cat chapters.
I understand.
If you're a fan of our podcast on YouTube, there's a playlist for each character. So if you just want to listen to all the Cat podcasts, you can just pick that playlist. Go for it.
There you go.
It's drop. Jeff's least favorite playlist for sure, but
then again, it's not. We've talked about that. She has really good chapters.
She does have really
I just think that she, as a person, at times made mistakes. And I'm not saying like Jamie. Sure, it's a mistake. Like it ends up throwing it off the rails even more, and you never get Sansa back.
And what George is so good at, though, is making it so yes, they made a mistake, but there's a good reason for it, right? Like you understand why they did what they did.
Yeah, like I get it. Like I would hope my mom would do the same, right?
Yeah.
If I'm Sansa, like yeah, trade that motherfucker, like get me home. But if I'm Rob, I'm like, what the fuck? Like I would have got Sansa back anyway.
Yeah.
But that's probably not true because they probably would have just killed her if he ever took the castle, you know. So it's like lose lose. It's a bunch of lose lose situations, and yeah, I don't hate Kat for this type of stuff. I hate her because of like the way she
acts. Yeah.
acts and like talks. Like she acted so above people
Yeah, I get that.
that like you were with Ned who acts like the calmest person ever. Like, and she was just like, I don't know, throwing shit around at people.
Yeah, a little bit. So a couple small things I had. One, Jamie calls Rob out for being lonely. I even mentioned it. It's like a kind of a weird, is that an adjective to use, like a descriptor word? What's
it's definitely an adjective.
What's happening?
I guess it's kind of a verb too.
What's happening with Rob? Lonely? Lonely's not a verb.
You can be lonely.
Be is the verb though.
Is lonesome is a noun.
Lonely might be a noun. I'm not a grammar guy. I'm a math guy. I'm pretty sure be is a verb though, in sentences like that. Like be
to be or not to be.
Yeah.
If I just say I am lonely, that's an adjective. But I'm also in the act of being lonely. Is that a verb?
Am is the verb, right? Am is like a...
But that's not the am. It's saying I'm about to do something. I am running. Running is the verb.
Yeah, but lonely is... I don't know.
Why would lonely... If I just say I am running and I am lonely, running and lonely should both be verbs.
But I am sad. Sad's not a verb. I'm not sadding. You can't go sad. You can still say I am sad.
Sad's a feeling.
Exactly.
That's why the English language is just broken. Yeah. We can just start there.
Grammar's stupid. Skip it. Stick to
because
math.
if you go to Spanish, like
sense.
sad, what would sad be? Like sad, I bet has like a conjunction, and you're like, like Spanish makes sense because you can break down a verb, right?
Well, I feel like Spanish works the same way. Yo soy, I am. Like soy means.
That's not a verb though.
Soy isn't a verb. Yo soy.
No, you then go like the running verb. I don't remember Spanish.
Well, soy is a verb. I am something.
No, it's not a verb. Maybe it's an adverb.
I guess you're right. Like when you're saying I'm hungry, you don't say I am hungry. You say I have hunger.
Right.
Where have is the verb and hunger is. I guess you're right. It makes more sense that way. Yeah.
I don't even know what an to your point, we're math guys. I don't even know what an adverb is.
whatever the hunger is, I am hungry. Whatever that hungry is, I don't know what the fuck that is to the sentence. I is the subject. Am is the verb. Hungry.
I don't think am is the verb.
I'm
not gonna agree with you that am is the verb.
I think am is the verb. Again, we're math guys. We're not gonna go there.
I think
you're lonely.
I don't think you've.
Do you know my point with this?
You've been a lot more wrong. Rob's lonely.
What's happening with Rob right now? Jamie says, "Oh, is Rob lonely? Is he feeling lonely?" When they're talking about how the Tyrells didn't join him, right? That was Kyle's reasoning for it. What is Rob doing right now? He just took over the crag. What's he doing?
He's banging Jane.
Yeah, so he's not lonely, is he?
He's not lonely. He should be lonely.
I was wondering, is this a play? Like, oh, is your son lonely? And she should be thinking, yeah, he doesn't have a wife.
Yeah, he should be fucking lonely. He's in his bed by himself.
Yeah, maybe it's nothing.
He's banging Jane.
Maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe it's one of I'm the English teacher reading too far into it. I caught something there.
Well, you need to go Google if am is a verb.
That's unimportant.
Give me your next thing.
For what this is. What's a brother's life when honor is at stake? This didn't make sense to me either. So what Jamie's saying here is, what they're talking about here is, wouldn't your sons also like pull some trickery, send some men under a white flag to rescue their brother?
It does say am is a verb.
Well, that's what I've been saying. I hate being right all the time, but
you're not.
I was right on that one.
Is lonely a verb? Adjective.
Is the verb. Rob is lonely.
I don't think.
Look up is a verb.
Noun and a verb. It's weird to think. Like, I guess
it's like a to be. Like there's a bunch of verbs that fall under like a to be.
That's the action.
Category.
The action is to I be. Am. Well, no. I am currently.
If you look it up, I'm sure it's a type of verb. I forget what it's called. I think it's like a predicate verb or it's something like that, where it's like anything that means to be, like with, like I'm with him, or like, you know what I mean. It's like a state. It's a state of being verb. I think is what it's called, a state of being or something like that. Again, we're off top. Rob's only. I think that's tied to the. We're going way too long. This is already an hour 20-minute podcast.
Well, then cut it off. I've been out of notes for 20 minutes.
I got a few more. So Rob's only. We passed that one. Next one. What's a brother's life worth when honor is at stake? When they're talking about this, that's when Tyrion tried to pull this trickery to get Jaime to escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what Jaime says is, what is a brother's life worth when honor is at stake? Almost, again, I guess he's being sarcastic, but the way he says it makes it sound like honor is worth more than a brother's life.
I think it's just weird English. I think it's just the way that they were talking.
I think he's being sarcastic. Like, oh, but what is a brother's life worth when honor's at stake?
Yeah.
I kind of think how he's trying to do it.
Like, oh, should I just let my brother die for the sake of my honor?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think he's being like, of course not, right? Like his point is, of course not. Fuck honor in that situation, right? I think that's what he's trying to say.
In the future, he's going to let Tyrion go, right?
But in my mind, what I'm thinking is different. I'm thinking if you take this literal, what's a brother's life worth when honor is at stake? Jon is about to kill Qhorin Halfhand, his brother, for honor, to follow a command. Qhorin says, you have to do anything, do not balk, whatever they ask. And then Jon, basically in that moment, he's like, fuck. He knew. I don't think he knows in that moment. But after the fight's over, he's like, he fought me on purpose. Like, he knew that's what they would ask. He knew I'd have to kill him. Jon kind of keeps his honor by killing a brother. Like, what's a brother's life worth when your honor is at stake?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, maybe that's me being the English teacher reading too far into it. For some reason, when I read that line, I thought of Jon.
It's a good read. I'm sure Preston taught you about
Preston
that.
said that one. I don't know. Next one. I think you're going to like this one. I definitely heard this one somewhere, probably on a podcast a long time ago. There's a part where Jaime says something about the red and gold, his gold sword with the red Ares blood.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we read the Lord Rickard,
his gold melted onto the fire.
As for Lord Rickard, the steel of his breastplate turned cherry red before the end, and his gold melted off his spurs and dripped down into the fire. So, what is beating gold and red here?
So gold and red dripping into the fire. The Lannisters were fucking Targaryens.
Targaryens beat Lannisters is my answer here. Like, cool, red and gold beat Ares in your mind. Fire beats red and gold. Wait till Danny shows up.
Wait till Danny shows up and burns down all your red and gold shit.
It's kind of, yeah. That one's definitely.
I don't hate that.
That one I definitely heard somewhere. I can't give credit to it. I'm not sure where I heard it, but I definitely heard that one somewhere.
I'm team Danny in actual life and in this podcast life.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to look it up. Maybe we'll postpone it. I'll put a note. To postpone it. I'll put it in the next Jaime chapter, which will be months from now because it will be in Storm. It's early in Storm of Swords, but we have at least like 15 more chapters before we get Jaime. But the thing that we talked about, Jaime says, everyone hates me for
the unkindness, the kindness I never did.
I will say, I think it passing odd that I am loved by one for a kindness I never did. I know what that is. It's Jaime. It's Tyrion. He tells Tyrion loves him.
Oh, it's the lie about Tysha?
For lying about Tysha. Yeah, he lies to him about Tysha. That's a kindness. The kindness is not telling Tyrion the truth. Like he tells Catelyn the truth here about Brandon. Ned gave a kindness to Cat by not telling Cat the truth about how Brandon died.
Right. I get you.
The same kindness Tyrion did to Jaime by not telling Tyrion the truth.
Jaime
Sometimes
did to
Tyrion, but sometimes it's a kindness to not tell someone the truth. I'm loved by one for a kindness I never did.
Yeah.
Right. Kindness would be telling the truth. He never did it.
Right. So Tysha was actually a whore.
Not a whore. She actually loved Tyrion. She actually married him. Wasn't a whore.
And the kindness is telling that so he doesn't mourn about it, so he can just kind of like.
The kindness is he lies and says so. Tyrion, there's a girl who actually loves Tyrion, marries him.
Right.
Tywin says you're disgracing our family by marrying a girl this low born, and tells Jaime you better tell him he's a whore, and this was all set up, and because that's the only way he's gonna let this girl go is if he thinks it was fake.
Right.
So Jaime lies, and Tyrion loves him for kindness, like telling the truth about this, but he never did tell the truth. Yeah. And
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
The Tysha thing is what I think goes there because by one, we know Tyrion loves him. The people
He's
who
like
love him,
really, other than Cersei, it's really Cersei and Tyrion.
Even I mean, Tywin. That if Tywin loves anybody, he loves Jaime. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
a joke. I made that. I kind of made a joke of it in the non-spoiler without even thinking about that.
I couldn't think about it at all.
But when I say the non-spoiler, I was like, nobody loves Jamie except for the Lannisters. Is what I said.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I wasn't even thinking about it, but it is. I think it is.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
If you ever had an original thought, you need to make a YouTube video right now.
I think it's passing odd that I'm loved by one for a kindness I never did, and reviled by so many for my finest act. And what that means, this obviously the second part.
Yeah,
is,
I mean that actually shows that like him lying about it is not a good thing.
and
Like
he's
the
guilty,
kindness
and
is
he
actually
feels guilty about lying about
yeah.
it, but he doesn't feel guilty about killing Ares because he knows that was the right thing to do. And again,
Yeah, I agree.
What's the big thing that we haven't said about him killing Ares? That like
He had to kill his dad. He ordered him to kill his dad.
kills that,
right?
and he was going to burn everything,
Burn everyone,
everybody,
Yeah.
blow up a million people.
Right. So that's where I was like, I know we're gonna hear the story when he's in the hot tub,
Uh-huh.
right? So like, I didn't want to take that part away, or
Exactly.
even like,
Yeah, I feel like even in this, like Jamie's not meant to be a good guy. Like you're not supposed to think Jamie's a nice guy after this. And you were leaning into that a little bit because we find out a lot more that makes this make sense.
yeah. But even here, like you can, if you just buy into some of the shit he
I think we
talks-
played it at a really good, like we played it at a really good spot. Like yes, a lot of the stuff Jamie's saying makes sense, and there's reasons for what he's saying, but also he is just being a dick for a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But cool, yeah, that was the last thing I had.
All right.
The other thing is dagger talk. I want to talk about the dagger, but we'll push that off the. I actually don't think we ever hear.
Yeah.
We don't hear about the dagger too much more than this. But it is weird that I feel like the point. I'll say this for the dagger. It seems like at the end of Clash of Kings, George wants you to think like the dagger's in Robert's lap, right? Like, okay, we've washed our hands. It definitely wasn't Cersei. Definitely wasn't Dany. Definitely wasn't Tyrion.
I kind of hope Robert had it.
So, I mean, the main theory is that Robert...
Dude, the thing that you said, like, Robert's like, fucking, like, fuck you, Jamie, I got your dagger, like, you lost, bitch, like, that's awesome.
It's hilarious. But again, like, I don't want Robert to be a fucking kid killer.
I don't think he had any part.
I think the main theory, if you're going off the Robert had the dagger, is Robert did say something about, like, oh, it would be a mercy for the child if he was dead. Like, I would hate to be...
Yeah.
Like, I think Cersei later on mentions that Robert had said something about, like, oh,
I'd
rather be dead than be a cripple. But he wouldn't do it. But the theory is Joffrey was in the room when Robert said that, and he heard Robert
stole the dagger
and did it to try and impress Robert. Exactly.
I'm kind of all in on Joffrey doing something like this.
I mean, again, I think Cersei's still on the table. Jamie's reasoning for why it can't be... Again, I said we weren't going to talk about it. We're talking about it here.
Yeah, because the statement was that Cersei doesn't lie. She lies the fuck out. She lies to you all the time.
Exactly. We know that. So Cersei's is on the table. Jamie, I think, is off. Tyrion is off. Cersei's on.
Cersei, Joff, Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, again, we talked about this early in Game of Thrones, and I almost want to go back and listen to what we said then. It doesn't make sense. How would Littlefinger know Bran was even paralyzed? He was not in Winterfell.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about it next time, because I gotta...
Yeah, next one.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
See you in the next one. Like, subscribe, Discord, all that stuff. Bye, guys.
Bye.